This is the Milton Planning Board. It's November 10th. This is our ninth meeting of fiscal year 2017. I'm Alex Whiteside. I'm the senior member here tonight, and therefore I'm going to preside. And however, we've got a great cast of other board members
Cast of characters.
who will introduce themselves.
Michael Kelly, member.
William Clark, Planning Director.
Julia Getman, Clerk.
Tim Serwinski, Assistant Town Planner.
April Lamoureux, member.
Cheryl Tagayas, member.
Okay, we've called the board to order. We're going to meet again next week, next Wednesday. And then again on December 8th. And then again on December 22nd. Now we have some minutes, which I think we can address. October 27th, I have just a few changes. I took out detailed analyses and just left it. This is where Bob Sweeney was talking under public comment. I said the importance of precision and detail in the wording of the permit. And then in the next one, the word sites. It should be lots, is that right? Lots, rather than sites. Where Judy Sweeney asked for clarification on the drainage plan for sites 4 through 7, and it seems to me that it's lots 4 through 7, is that right?
Should probably be lots.
It's probably lots. Well, that's good enough. And then the next one, on the next page where Mr. First stressed the need for enforceability. I just said he stressed the need for enforceability by the town and took out the words measures and to be firmly in place. And with those few changes, I thought these were great minutes. What does the board think?
I'm sorry, what was the last one, Alex?
Where it says, Mr. First stressed the need for enforceability measures by the town to be firmly in place. I just said he stressed the need for enforceability by the town.
Okay, not the measures.
No,
Okay,
and not to be firmly in
I
place.
see. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Here are the changes.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
Citizens speak. Are there any citizens or residents who want to speak? You're going to discuss the Carberry estates, I assume.
And some things that was said about me that were.
All right, well,
not
that's
true.
fine, but you know, don't repeat yourself.
Oh, I'm not gonna repeat myself.
All right, this is
We're
good.
bringing a whole new thing into this.
All right, this is what we want, whole new,
With all due respect, I do appreciate the years of service that you put in, Mr. Whiteside. And I did notice that you didn't copy everybody on the letter back, so I brought some copies
Oh,
for the
okay.
people, the committee, or board.
all right. Introduce yourself, and we're all ears.
This is mine. Yeah. Do you want me to sign the report now? Wait. What's the date today?
Whoa, Jesus. I could have gotten hurt. My name is Kevin Walker, 1776 Canton Ave, a direct abutter of the proposed Northland development, whatever scheme they're on now. Your first comment to me I do take to some offense, because I don't think I heard you saying that to Mr. Dolly when he came in here on the 22nd of September, going over the same story with some slight modifications. Okay, so I'll start with that. And I actually watched that video for the first time tonight of that meeting, and I have to thank some of the board members who raised some nice issues, the master plan, the housing plan, distances, traffic, substance. So when I got a call, and I was told that I declared war and I was at $2 million and now it is $3 million that I want. He's a liar. And as he was heading off to the Cape,
But one thing we're going to do, we're not going to discuss personalities.
well,
No,
Okay.
if you
Well,
want to
I'll deal with the
discuss
defamation.
personalities,
Well, then
let me
he
tell you how to
he
do it.
told a lie.
If,
He told
if
a
you,
lie.
if you want to discuss personalities, you put it in writing and you send it to the board. And then you take your
Wait a
chances.
second, excuse me. You let them, on the 22nd, say that I declared war.
I was not presiding. I'm
you
simply
can't-
saying, we're not going to have ad hominem statements. Just discuss what you want to discuss, but leave
Sir,
out
sir,
calling people
sir.
liars
Well,
and.
excuse me. What they said, I just listened to it. That I declared war and that I wanted $3 million now. So let's go to the facts. The last time that I met with Jack Dolly was on 4/14. Okay? There have been no meetings. And when I got off the phone, that was before the 22nd. When I got off the phone, I go, you know what? I'm going to have my lawyer call them. Let's set up a meeting, okay? The meeting's confidential, but there were just discussions. That meeting was held on the 11th, okay? We're here to talk about the process. Now, back a few months ago, we talked about 40B and the threat. Okay, at that time, you said it is a real threat. That is the issue here. Every time they come, they say, this is the fewest number of units built on this property. I had a representative go to a meeting on the, let's see, it was at Fuller Village on the 19th. One neighbor asked a question. If you don't get approval for this, you'll do 40B, right? Maybe 400 units? Dolly responded, no, he will definitely move forward with 40B if he doesn't get this approval, and that it would likely be between 200 and 300 units. That's how they are handling every meeting, and the last meeting. So you're talking to me about me? When a developer comes in here and says, if you don't give me the zoning, I've read Randolph Ave. I've read Elliott, I've read the Muse. You said it was a real threat? No, a salamander took that out. There's a whole process here of 40B. Do I need the microphone? First of all, if he's gonna say, come in here, the board should say, go get your site approved. Go show the state that you are paying fair market value. We're not talking about fair market value. We're talking about 58 units plus the 6 affordable. We're talking about a lot of money, way more than market value. Market value would be what the land is currently zoned for. Cluster and 2-acre lots. 1/3, we just have to do the math. I'm working on a letter on this here. Look at what's involved. You know what's involved. I don't have to tell you. 40B, I heard a woman that earlier before the meeting started. This board cannot accept threats from developers. They can't accept Mr. Corcoran stating that I've declared war because I don't want a road 30 feet from my property line. They didn't have the dimensions that night. You asked them, oh, it's a long way. I mean, we're talking about substance. I'm giving you substance right now. The lawyer for Mr. Weeks comes in. He has some neighbors. Well, who are they? You ask for the neighbors on the Blue Hills Association. There's 30 of them that signed up for that. Okay? The same, everybody needs to be treated fairly here. And right now, the way the last meeting ended, I didn't feel like I was treated on the same level as Mr. Dolly, and I didn't feel it today, Mr. Whiteside. Put yourself in my shoes. Look at this process, the 40B process. You know how hard it would get. Never mind the traffic, the cost to develop into that hill. It's not realistic. Not if he wants to make money off, if the Carberries want to get their market value. Let's look at my property here. We'll take the smaller one. No, it's 30 feet. 75 feet. Just look at the other side. Why wouldn't someone say to Mr. Dolly, why isn't Mr. Walker being treated the same as the other side? Oh no, he's got this driveway, nothing's changing. No, that's changing. Right there, that road. He doesn't want to dig into the SQ, but he wants to go blast ledge, or whatever he thinks he's doing. I have 2 young children, okay? I have a daughter, 15. I have a 13-year-old boy on the autism spectrum. 4 years of construction. Look at his pamphlet. We're going to live through construction for 4 years. If there was a regular development, 2 years. Mr. Dolly said to me, 1.5 units per month. That's how we get our quality. This is all new. People have to stop saying, oh, war? This isn't war. That's an insult to everybody. Watch the news that are dying in wars. You saw the letter. How much you think that I'm spending to protect my property? Mr. Kelly, I appreciate what you said about the money, the appreciation. I don't want any money. I want you to put yourself in my shoes. I worked my whole life for that property. Yeah, it's worth something, but I also have a mortgage. I mean, Hillside, you wouldn't want to see that on your street. Townhouses. I know what happened down at the Muse. Yeah, anything can happen. This board needs to come out to any developer, because I could come in here. What if I buy a piece of land? Give me this or I'm doing 40B. If I came in here, I'd come with the pre-approval, so it'd be real. Mr. Dolly is not a 40B developer. Go to his website. If he wants to start, let him start. Start this process. Let's see his form of how much he's paying for the land. Oh, he doesn't own all the land. So, yeah, this is the war I'm in. How do I explain to my children? It's inexplainable. I just can't believe it, but I do appreciate what I've seen from this board, the questions. But it's time, Mr. Dolly, Mr. Corcoran, I don't want to hear your threats anymore about 40B. Go get your approval. I've seen it. I got stacks of paperwork of developers who really do it. Tramwell Crow, as soon as that salamander popped up. Conservation, I'm ready for that. Absolutely ready for that. Because for the money they're talking for that land, it's not real. Absolutely not. A significant minority. That was an interesting one. This is unclear, indirect, and all over the map is what this developer is doing. Open historic environment. Yeah, that's my environment. 75-foot line, 250-foot line, 100-foot line. My house is right there. This is my house right here. That's my kitchen. I'm gonna be looking at the road, the main road. And even if we came to terms, am I gonna pay $100,000 for arborvitae's to block? Do I have to pay so he can develop this property? It's gonna cost me $100,000 just in fees, that if we work something out. And the way I see that he does business, no. It's moving those cards around and shuffling them and then running off to the Cape. He wants $3 million now. That was a lie. I hadn't talked to him since April. Every meeting is a threat. Look at these people's faces about 40B. It's time. It's time to get a handle on the 40B and tell these developers, if you're gonna come in here like that, you have it approved. That's good faith. You know, not bashing me. You know, all I want is to be represented. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for citizen speak? Let me just say, we're going to, is there anyone else? There isn't anyone else. Good. We're going to go into our public hearing on the Bank of America at 2 Elliott Street. And then we're not going to hear the, did you give me that back? We have a request that the Beechwood Road hearing be continued. When are we going to continue it to?
December 8th.
So we're going to continue the hearing on Beechwood Lane, 683 Brush Hill Road, definitive subdivision modification until December 8th.
What time?
We're all free. 7:15.
What?
Put them for a 7:15?
At 7:15?
Yep.
Okay, shall we just vote to confirm that continuance to
Do you need a
December
motion?
8th at 7:15?
Would you like a motion?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then we're going to hear from Pulte Homes, and we're going to hear from them. And then we're going to, at 8 o'clock, we're going to see if there's anyone here for the 131 Elliott Street continued hearing. And have we heard anything about that?
I have not heard anything about
We
it.
haven't heard anything. And
I suspect we're
my
gonna-
suggestion is going to be, on that one, that we continue it to one of our December meetings, at which we will we'll vote on it. And if there are loose odds and ends, we'll make tying them together a condition of the permit. So I think we've got to move this along if we can, and so I have some ideas how we might be able to do it. But we'll discuss that a little later and see if there's anyone here at 8 o'clock. Okay, the Bank of America at 2 Elliott Street. This is an application for site plan approval, and the matter has been advertised, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's a handout for you.
This is Matthew. Matthew introduce himself. He'll introduce the project.
Hi, my name is Matthew Bombasi. I'm with Bowler Engineering. We're the civil engineers on the project. As you stated, we're looking at 2 Elliott Street, the Bank of America here at the corner of Elliott and Adams Street. Just to give you a little background of what we do for the bank, we're hired through the architect to look at sites and assess their ADA compliance with ADA regulations. A lot of these bank facilities are very, very old and understandably out of ADA compliance. So we do an assessment for them, and then if we can find a solution that they find acceptable, then we go forward with design plans. In this particular case, this site has an existing ADA space here with no accessible striping aisle or way to the front door. The front entrance is over here on Elliott Street. So the solution we came up with when we were doing the conceptual design phase, what they actually ultimately wanted to move forward with, was we moved the ADA space here, provide the accessible aisle here, we push this back a little bit to make room for it, and we provide a path along the side here to get from the accessible space to the door, be an accessible path. There's an existing retaining wall here they're going to break through, and it also runs along here too. They're going to maintain. This area now is a bricked landscape courtyard that actually doesn't have really access from either side. I think it's just kind of a dead area that was probably formerly used. Pull up the design plan just to show you some of the details. So here's the front main entrance, and here's where we're proposing accessible spaces. We're going to put a wall along here to make room for the spaces, move the trash enclosure, and to provide a ramp coming up, providing stairs at the rear entry, and then basically a sidewalk in compliance with ADA requirements coming along the side, and then connecting to the front entrance. Work associated with it just includes the wall, like I said, the trash enclosure. This also provides a slight extension of the paved parking area, about 5 or 6 feet, which actually will serve the project well, because right now there's an existing dumpster enclosure right here, which kind of prohibits people from parking in one of the spaces they do have. If you've ever been in that area, it's quite tight and maneuvering through there. As far as other work, a chain link fence on top of the wall. The wall will be a segmental block wall. They're proposing a gray split-faced wall. I got a picture of it just if you wanted to look at it. Basically, this is obviously the same application, but a segmental wall like that, it'll generally match the color of the poured walls they have now. It'll have a geogrid reinforced it in the back. And the dumpster enclosure will be, currently it's a chain link, but it'll have CMU block walls along the side. It'll have a chain link fence, screened fencing gate along the front. If there's any particular questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Hopefully I covered everything that you might be interested.
What is you showed us quite a nice picture of a wall, and then it seemed to me you talked about a poured wall.
Oh, so the existing wall is a poured wall. So under existing conditions, there's a poured wall here.
Yeah.
And a poured wall that comes through here.
Yeah.
They're going to break this poured wall here so that we can bring our path through. And then any proposed wall, which is basically this wall here, and then the two sides of the trash enclosure will be a CMU block wall.
What sort of wall?
A concrete masonry, basically a block wall, similar to something like this, a Versalock.
Something like that.
This is a techno block.
The wall is actually behind you, Alex.
Yeah, to the right next to the building, about 5 feet off of it is the existing poured wall.
Yes.
What's the material of the wall that's next to the sidewalk? Is that stone?
I believe that is stone, but to be honest, I can't quite tell. And
It has a brick face to it. It's concrete with a brick face.
And what about the Elliott Street portion of the wall, same?
Yes.
That is.
And is that capped? That's
Yeah.
not chain link fence.
No, I said
Oh.
that isn't changing, is it?
That wall, no, a little bit, so that we can get our path through. So they're going to.
It's going to go
The
wider.
wall is parallel to the side of the building.
Yes.
That's not going to change. The wall along the street might get changed a little bit. So if you're looking just to the right, there's kind of that little
Would
piece
you
there.
put
sure.
in, just so we, at least I can look at it.
So our sidewalk's going to come up this way, and then over here, this wall, you can't tell, bends back a little bit, so they're going to get rid of that, so they can bring their sidewalk through. Oh, thank you.
So when you say the wall in front's gonna change, is there a little like parapet there or something?
Yeah, there's a gate here with a step. They're going to get rid of that, and they're just going to extend the wall to match the existing look. And they actually can match this existing iron fence and the little ornamental piece on top of it for the few sections that they're going to replace it.
So basically anything from the corner of the wall is parallel with the building and parallel with the street. From that corner right, you have an index finger on.
Yeah, that there will
Over
be.
to the my right or your left, nothing's really changing.
Nothing's changed, no.
Okay.
Until you get in the back. Or you get in the back and you're putting a dumpster in, right?
Well, there's a dumpster there. We're pulling it back and putting it in a block wall enclosure.
Oh, so it's
You-
currently not blocked off.
It's got a chain link fence around it currently with bollards in front of it.
All right, Bill?
If you look at the, straight down what is an alleyway right now, that is a concrete wall. That's a retaining wall. They're going to take that wall as we walk down the alleyway and continue it straight back to their property line. So that the wall that we're looking at that comes at the 90 degree is going to get wiped out. A new one will get put on the right-hand side. The dumpster will be actually back in, the side of the dumpster wall is what we will be looking at in the end.
That's your continuation right there.
Yes.
It's pretty sitting right.
So what do you see now at the end? The dumpster?
You see a concrete wall.
Pushed it back. Right now, you're looking at a concrete wall, but you're going to see it push back a little bit. There'll be a
And then
dumpster
there's
wall.
going to be a block wall, that you
Yes,
say.
dumpster inside.
And the dumpster, and then another block wall and a fence in
Yes.
front of the,
So if you look down here,
Yes.
you won't see the dumpster, you'll see a wall, way back.
Yes.
And you basically don't really have any neighbors other than across the street.
Look, yeah, all the way on the other side is, I believe, Citizens Bank is their.
Citizens Bank is on the far back
far side.
lot line.
and the view from Adam Street?
View from Adel Street will be, you'll see the gray block wall as you're looking straight through the parking lot. And then I guess that'll be your entire view along Adam Street. That'll pretty much take the whole width of the property that you can see outside of the bank. So all along here, you'll see the.
Oops,
the
sorry.
No problem.
Don't get dizzy.
You're going crazy.
All across here, you'll see the block wall, and then just the gate for the trash enclosure will be there.
Do I see a dumpster in that picture now?
Yeah, there is. It's a little blurry, but it's a black chain link fence, and it's got a couple bollards on either side.
And that's what you're gonna have an enclosure for it
Yeah,
anyway?
we're gonna put in.
Should you have a wooden gate in front of it
Well, how about-
instead of a chain link fence?
We want to go with a black vinyl chain link fence just because I'm speaking with the contractor. The wooden gate tends to rot over time or degrade, and actually the black with the vertical slats for privacy holds up, and with the black vinyl coating isn't quite as.
You can put, you're talking about an interwoven
Yeah, like
black
vinyl
chain link
slats.
fence with, okay.
Yep, yep.
So you wouldn't see the dumpster, it would be sort of a black,
Correct, yeah, it would be completely screened from view.
okay.
Well, I have a few comments, Alex, when you're ready for comments.
I think that this will be wonderful. Let's hear them.
Okay. From the Elliott Street side, it concerns me quite a bit that the proposed materials are going to be so utilitarian for a historic property like this. So
particular-
the chain link fence, and also something that you haven't addressed, but what shows up on these drawings are these
Why do they need to change?
the railings, which are as utilitarian as can be, which is 1.5-inch diameter steel handrail. And while that meets the ADA and the Architectural Access Board, it can be done quite differently with materials that are more sympathetic to the historic character of the existing fencing and gates. So Tim, if you switch back around.
Sure. Yeah, so I could speak to the handrails.
Yeah.
At least the handrails are going to be on the bottom side of that concrete retaining wall, so they're not going to be visible from.
But you're going to have handrails on this ramp, right?
Correct.
So they'll be visible if I'm walking up and down this sidewalk. And
Sure,
I will
you'll
look
see
right
the,
down there and see them, just like we were looking at and seeing the wall, right?
You'll see the thin view of them.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if we can see that fencing there.
Give them that.
So what's proposed, as I understand it, is that there'll be a chain link fence here. That
Correct.
this wall will be basically moved over and there'll be a ramp in that location. And that would have a pipe rail, handrail going up it. So we'd have iron, chain link, and pipe rail is what we see along there, which I I find visually incompatible with the historic character of the building.
Sure, so this wall will stay in place, I didn't know if you
existing
mentioned that would
fence
be
off
moved, and
the
the
street,
handrails will
then
be
you have to
actually on the
hold that
bottom
fence
side of this
up.
wall,
Okay.
down here, so not.
And then the chain link is going here then?
The chain link would go on the top of the existing wall, and the reason that we proposed that, it's not really a part of the project, but it's been basically just as a safety measure, as you do have a wall with a drop there.
Well, my concerns remain the same in terms of the industrial character of that kind of fencing and handrails.
Would you're suggesting that using the fence along Elliott Street and turning the corner and running it up the,
Same fence.
Same
that
fence.
makes some
Yeah.
sense.
That fence runs, that black fence that you see now on Elliott runs up High Street to the edge of the grass. From the grass up, it turns into chain link, and the chain link up there is trashed.
Still not visible here.
I'm less concerned about the black chain link at the dumpster because it's far enough away and, set back under a tree and, I think it's not going to be as visible. But, I mean, this is a quite historic property here, and I think that we have had people express concern about maintaining historic character through our master plan process. And so I think in this case, this is a place where it would be better to be sympathetic to that structure and in these improvements that are being made.
Can I ask a related question? I hear what you're saying about the fence that's parallel to the wall and going on with the new wall, and it being more or less like a safety catch so that somebody doesn't walk and
It's a
drop off the
liability
wall.
issue from our standpoint.
But presently, that's the condition you have, and there's no fence there.
Understood. We did not do this design. When we do a design, we have to look at it from all angles, and liability is certainly a big part of our process.
Then I'd only agree with Cheryl, then if you're going to have a fence there, it should be the same type of material that exists there now.
Okay.
Do you have suggestions on what kind of materials would be more suitable for the handrail?
Well, is that a actual wrought iron, is that an iron fence that's there now?
The existing one? Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be okay to be aluminum if it can be in the same dimensions. We'd have to look at the details, though, to make sure it doesn't have awkward attachment, and bolting, et cetera. But it would be ideal to match I mean, it looks like that can meet code in terms of the dimensions in between the rails, the vertical pieces. So it seems to me you could match that. I think we could be flexible about the material as long as it looked comparable to that.
The rail's going to attach to what presently is a concrete wall.
Yeah, so I don't know how that's attached, if that's cored into the stone top, and then if it has any kind of escutcheon kind of thing on it. I doubt that it's a plate that's bolted through, but it's cored, right. So we'd want it to be cored. That's when I'd say similar in character, it would be similar detailing, not just the height and the dimensions of the rails and the pickets. You'd want all of that to match up.
The fence that we're talking about, that he had chain link, that we want to use the material that exists there now, the railing for the disabled there is not going to attach to that, is it?
No,
Oh.
that'll be
It'll
up
attach to
above.
the concrete.
Yeah,
The fence will be above, and
And
it'll
the-
attach to the side of the wall.
correct. Yeah, or on the ground right next to it.
All right.
Yeah, very close to it.
Yeah,
So what's required, for the code, what's required by code has to do with the locations of the rails and the diameter and the extensions beyond the tops and bottoms, like on the ramp and on the stairs. But there's certainly a far more historically sympathetic ways to do it than with pipe rail like this.
One of the important things to me would seem to be that you want to make sure that the rail is black to match the fence. As far
Yeah.
as whether it's, I think, like you say, the code's going to restrict you from being identical to the fence that exists there, because the fence that exists there, those balusters are probably 3/4 of an inch square, and you're not going to work with anything that's 3/4 of an inch square to create a railing.
No, and to be perfectly honest, the only way to do something like this with the handrail would be to have them next to each other and one attached to the other. Unfortunately, in this location, we were just barely able to fit the ADA path out without
I
having
mean,
to relocate
it's not going to be,
the wall.
from this view here, which I assume is the important, the railing's not going to be very evident. especially if it's black, all you're going to do is see the face of it, and it's going to run parallel to the wall. You're not going to see the full length of it, because you'd have to stand against the building.
Well, you're going to see it on both sides, according to this plan.
Also
I'd like
remember
to s- I would think it would be helpful to have a section actually through here, and so that we could see the height of the
this-
rail. Right here, these are railings here, Mike, that are going to come on this side, so you're right about it against the wall, but you're going to also have a railing that does that, that L shape. You see
I
that?
don't see it in plan view here. Oh, yeah, okay, I see
Right
it here.
here?
This is these are the railings right here.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That
my-
one takes an L back into the
Yeah.
building, attaches to the building.
Yeah, but from this view, all you're going to do is see the
Well,
one.
that's if you're standing and just looking directly on, but you'll see it when you're
Yeah, but I mean,
walking
it's
down
like an
there.
alleyway. I mean, you're going to have a hard time, even if you walk to the, say you walk to the center, the front door of that building and looked, you're not going to be able to look around the corner. You're going to have to get a very difficult angle to see great length of that railing.
No, I disagree
Well,
with that. but-
you're talking about a railing of a different sort,
Right.
but it's going to not be a significant cost buster, is it?
No.
If you're talking about color or something like that, I mean,
But the point is, he can't make the railing look like that fence, because the code's going to require, and I'm going to just talk off the cuff, that it's 2 1/4 diameter, and that that the uprights are a certain distance apart, and that they're a certain diameter. You know,
But Mike,
he
I mean,
can't just.
this is the kind of work that I do every day, and I know that there are not cost prohibitive materials and profiles to do this. And what the code requires has to do with the grippable surface and the heights and the extensions. It does not mandate a 1.5-inch diameter galvanized steel pipe.
Well, sometimes it does, because it has to take 250 pounds of pressure in any direction, and in order to withstand 250 pounds of pressure in any direction, you can only work with certain materials.
It's not just a 1.5-inch diameter pipe, I can guarantee you
there's a
that.
range from like 1 1/4 to 1.5 inches that the pipe can be. It doesn't specify a material, but galvanized steel would obviously be the most readily available.
Well, it's the least expensive, let's be honest.
Sure, yeah, I mean, if certainly for color, I don't know what other materials, to be honest, I've ever seen used in this type of application, but I think color is certainly not a big issue, but
Well,
I
why
don't
don't
know what
you,
other
why don't you
materials.
ask your architect or your landscape architect who's working with you on this? 'Cause I see it says to refer to others for for some of these things. If they can come back to us with something that would be more historically appropriate.
And, well, why don't you, Cheryl, if
He's
you
the architect.
see something at the office, tell Tim what it is, and
Okay.
he can,
You don't care about that.
he can forward that information to you.
Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest, I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, if you want to match the color, but we're trying to do an ADA improvements project. It's certainly not something that's making money for the bank or something that they want to do. They're trying to do a good thing by bringing they're building up the code. As far as colors and things like that, but if I bring the notion of some
But
sort
it
of...
is a historic building. I mean, that's one of the, that bank building has been there forever.
It certainly
It's,
has,
And so we want to treat it sympathetically.
Yeah, but I think, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I think we could probably talk it out tonight. I don't know if we have to go ahead of time.
Well, can we, a railing be specified? And we'll put you in charge of the railing committee, Cheryl, maybe?
Well, either way, the point is, I guess it's not going to be resolved tonight, and he's asking this to be resolved tonight, and apparently it's not going to be resolved tonight.
Well, I'm simply saying that if we say with a railing, subject to approval of the railing committee,
So I mean, a lot of this...
chaired by member Tugayas.
Yeah. So if I can just speak on it one more time, this height is mandated. This height is mandated by ADA code. The extensions are mandated by ADA code.
It's the type
material is
of,
basically
it's
the only
the
thing that
type
can
of
change,
railing.
yeah.
I mean, this is probably the Bank of America railing.
Well, this is just our personal
Well,
standard
exactly.
detail, but yeah.
But, you know, I'm using different types of railings is sometimes sort of fun. So, what do you think? What else do we have besides the railing, Cheryl? We're going
Well,
to,
I mean,
want the fence to be the same as along Elliott Street.
But without knowing what that is, I mean, how do we approve it? We're meeting next week. I mean,
We are
can't
meeting
get it.
next
We can't get a
Wednesday.
submittal on a material on a rail for next week.
It's hard to believe, but our time does cost money. I know.
Oh, well, you know, time is money, but
Yeah. Yeah,
But
so-
for the customers, you're going to get many more customers in because of the attractiveness of this construction.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess my point again is that the height of the rail is the same no matter what material we choose. The configuration is the same. The only thing we could change would be the color or the material. So if there was something that you'd recommend, I think certainly something black.
Okay, well then I would like to see where it says by others, I'd like to see the others' drawings, okay? So when it says proposed retaining wall designed by others, coordinate with architect and owner, I'd like to see a detail of it, okay?
I have that if you would like to.
And when it says on the railings, where is the other referral to something similar? Extend handrail to building, okay? So there's no detail of how the handrail is attached to the building, or is it coming down to a post? Maybe it's better to not touch the historic building and come down to a post. There's no elevation of it, there's no detail of it. There's no elevation of this. There's no elevation of that in the context of the wall behind it. I don't see adequate drawings here.
Well, I think that if you were to come up with an architecturally appropriate railing and continue that fence, and they do it in a way that you can do, because you have been doing this stuff for a while, I think. This isn't your
Some longer
first
than
project.
me. Some longer than me, but yeah. So I think as far as the fence, I think we can agree on that. Either we'll remove the fence or do something that matches. The railing, to be honest, we as long as it wasn't extremely cost prohibitive, we'd be willing to whatever material or color would be the most. I know there's some landscaping through here as well, so it's not like you're just going to be staring through the railing. Hopefully that would break up your view. Were there any other concerns with the project other than the rail and the fence?
I think the continuation of the wrought iron fence to the end of the property line, not knocking off. Do you have Tim, can you go up High Street? So you've got to the wall that goes to the driveway right now, you have the wrought iron fence.
Yep.
The chain link fence is falling down. You've got trees all over it now. You're going to take and make that your new green space. So take and bring that wrought iron fence to the end of the property line.
Sure, yeah, we weren't touching any of this area up along the road here.
You're going to because you're going to be putting a wall. You're going to be putting a wall across there.
It'll be
Back.
it'll be a little further down the hill, but yeah, correct.
So you are in that area. You're cutting out some of the smaller trees that are already down there.
Correct, yes, sir.
So what, you want the wrought iron fence
And then
that
up to the
exists
edge of the property.
to up to you, and is that,
Now it
Doable?
looks like it's that property.
I mean, to be honest, it feels, it doesn't exist now. It doesn't exist anywhere else on this street. I just don't want to say that they can do it. It's not my money, I think if you wanted us to repair the fence, certainly that's something we could do. But I don't know if it's a fence, they can't order that fence. They have to, the pieces that they're making, they have to literally have
Fabricate.
someone fabricate it. So you're asking them to fabricate like 100 feet of that fence. Maybe some sort of landscaping improvement along there too.
well, you're gonna be, oh, you said you'd either delete the fence completely or put that type of fence where you showed the new
Correct, yeah,
chain
the
link.
bank might opt
My
to not
point
put
is,
it
if
in.
you were gonna put it where you were putting the chain link, well, you'd already be fabricating it. Now you're just talking another 100 feet of
I
it.
guess the reason I said that we do that is because I think they'd likely choose not to do the
Just
fence on top of
eliminate
wall.
the fence.
Yeah.
So,
You were
So
all
this-
set, the fence you were gonna put there, put it up here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
so here's the other notation about, this says 42-inch high pedestrian guard in accordance with IBC section 1013. Coordinate with owner and architect regarding materials and appearance. That's not adequate to me. That's a code-required statement, but it's not a design It doesn't give us any idea about what the design is.
Sure. So that, just to give you an idea of where that is, that's this door here, which is an employee-only entrance. Is down about 6 or 7 feet from the road. So we're talking you wouldn't be able to see it from
Well,
right
you
here.
certainly see it from High Street right here.
Yeah, the Google camera is a good 12 feet off the ground.
Yeah, well, people walk on High Street occasionally. I still like to see adequate, so is the proposed fence to run on the angle of the wall, or is it proposed to step down like the one along the sidewalk? If we don't have an elevation of the fence.
The fence here,
Correct.
that would be just with the topography, it's going to be in the grass off the back of the wall, so it'll just slope with the surface.
And how many posts would there be?
It would be spaced every 10 feet, I believe.
So why don't you look at what the spacing is here so it can be coordinated?
But we're not going to do a chain link fence.
No, but we're still going to need posts in the
Right,
fence that we do
exactly.
do.
You'd like it to look like that.
Assuming we were to put that fence in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're
But
assuming.
we're assuming, but we don't have any drawings
Well,
to draw it. All right, I'm not comfortable making an approval or a decision
I think
on
that
this
we're going to
without
have
having
to,
more drawings.
what I would suggest that you do is communicate with Tim, who's going to communicate with you, and you're going to come back, money notwithstanding, next Wednesday.
Can we have a explicit list of concerns, requests, and because town hall's not open tomorrow, and then we're talking about Monday, so if they can get to work on solutions.
Yeah, some just, I'd be happy to hear from the rest of the board too, and also just, some clear direction so I can get them going. And to be honest, the issues, I know you're trying to push this out, the issues don't really sound like something we can't accommodate, to be honest. I think we'd be happy to work with you
I know
on
you
it,
can
yeah.
accommodate it. It just seems to me that next Wednesday may cost a little extra dough, but is probably worth it. I mean, just having time to, for you to get your ducks walking correctly.
Sure. Were there any other comments or concerns?
The new rail, you get hot dip galvanized, I'd like to see it a black finish.
Black, yeah, I
Finish
think
paint.
absolutely can do that.
And with, and you'll do some details on the attachments to the walls. What else?
So he needs to decide whether that chain link fence that was proposed is going to be the existing material or just going to be deleted.
Which,
Well, I have no problem if he just deletes it.
On the other
because
side of this grass, on the top of the wall.
it doesn't exist.
fence is
Go
that?
back to,
Well, I think he's saying that they have to put that fence in?
no, he's not.
He said if we forced them to do it, replace the chain link fence, they would just say forget it and not put it in.
We're talking about the fence on High Street, or are we talking about the fence?
Go back to the front view if you would for a second.
So if we require them to replace this chain link all the way up High Street,
Let's get to the,
they're just not going to put it on the
the fence, he said, the
block
fence,
fence.
correct me where I make a wrong assessment. The fence, he said, that was going to travel along this wall,
Uh-huh.
continue, where she's shown as a chain link, and we asked him to make it this type of material. What I think he's saying to us is, he'll probably go back to the people he works with, and they'll say, chain link is out, it's either this material or nothing, we won't put a fence there.
Correct, yeah, or they'll say that they can't do it with the other one, but.
well, if they say that, they say that.
I mean, I understand, again, stepping off the wall, but that's the condition that exists today.
But if they don't put the fence there, we might really have cause to want you to do something on High Street, because walking through that dilapidated fence is not, is pretty easy.
That's one thing. The second thing is, I asked you that the railing that you put in there is hot dip galvanized be black. I think what Cheryl's asked, that you revisit the whole railing and see if there's any type of material you can use to emulate that existing old fence.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I can't do is put these vertical slats in or anything like that.
I
It has to
understand.
be round.
Well, just revisit it and see what you can do about getting a material that is more similar to that existing fence. If you can't get one, you can't get one. That's it. But we're asking you to just fairly visit it.
But then, of course, your question is, you saw how the fence looks on High Street, and that's a pretty elaborate fence.
Yes. There's more than just the straight pieces as well,
Yeah,
right?
well, I think,
You see, it's
There's
got
laced pieces and,
these things.
Circular
and,
piece at the top with a,
I guess you would be suggesting that you don't want to do it, the little urns.
Yeah, they'd have to fabricate every single piece of
guy, I'd have to come out and take pictures of that
I
to do
think they're
that.
suggesting they don't want to do it.
Well, I think that's sort of less critical than having that type of.
That type of fence,
You know,
right,
having the-
just running up along the
Exactly.
wall.
And you can even have the spacing of the posts, be like that dimension, right?
That's
And then the
top of the wall.
pickets in between them, that kind of a spacing, the same kind of dimension. I don't think it has to have that little finial on top, or even the lattice,
Or even the,
could've
what
just been-
emulates a
like
post.
black wrought iron fence.
You could have just had black wrought iron run all the way down, and you're not going to see it.
I don't know if people
No.
would go for it, you could probably get an aluminum product or something
That's what I said.
that emulates this type of fence, that, unless somebody goes up and does this and looks at it, then from a distance, they're not gonna know the difference.
And we would just want the same kind of detail in terms of how it's anchored, right? Because you don't want to have one of those where it's a plate and then it's posted, then it's bolted in and it doesn't,
Right, maybe
It doesn't
eventually
look
it starts to
right.
do this.
So there's three basic pieces. The railing for the handicap, you're gonna make sure it's at least black and see if there's a material that's similar to the old fences that exist out there. Two, you're either gonna eliminate or emulate the fence that exists out there to parallel the wall. And three, you're gonna talk to the people that are putting this together about extending that material the full length of your property and eliminating that chain link fence. That's all I know of right now. Is anybody else, anything else?
there's the thing I mentioned before where the plan shows that the railing for the ramp turns and terminates at the existing building. I'd rather see that terminate in a post into the ground to leave the historic wall alone and not have to anchor to it.
Yeah, we say extended building, but I think what we meant is to cross into the building, not into the building, but we make that clear.
Don't wanna
Cheryl,
make
is
that
it the
clear.
railing that runs along the building and then terminates into the building? But the railing that runs along the building, I think, is probably a foot or something off the building. When they talk about terminate, that'll probably just cantilever and just hang there.
Well, it's the L. If you look at that plan again, it's the L that
Maybe I'm wrong.
turns in. It can be done either way.
Yeah, I think what you said is that they'll either end it in a post or they'll loop it around and cantilever it.
Just hang there.
It's just, it's,
I can't believe it.
Yeah, if it's a foot or two,
It's the last 9 inches.
yeah, it's not.
well, this is like 3 feet in length. There's gonna,
Well, if it's
it's
3 feet
either
in length,
gonna
then they
need
take
to
it
be
back.
either a post or anchored to the wall, and I'd rather see it a post right here.
What drawing?
The first one.
Yeah.
And then if you look at where, see, it's
Okay,
here,
yeah.
it comes and does that. Right there.
It comes up, okay, I
Yeah,
kept
and
going toward the
then-
building. Oh, this is the building, this is the
Yeah.
front, I'm reverse the way I was looking at it.
Yeah, so this is the building here.
All right, yeah, you'd have to have a post close to the building or something if it's,
Somewhere that, yeah.
yeah, scale, it looks, I don't know what your scale is, but it looks.
Well, this is 4 feet here, so this is almost 5 feet
Oh, it's
over.
4 feet.
Right there.
Oh, what's that, 4 foot 1? So, yeah, so you're right, it's about 5 feet. So, yeah, you couldn't hang it out like I was saying. I thought you were talking about, I thought it terminated a little
ends.
piece right there
Yeah.
into the building, but that's, no, you're right. You'd have to have some kind of post there. You don't, she just doesn't want to attach to the wall, just
Yeah,
wants a post there.
Absolutely, yeah, we wouldn't intend on attaching it to the wall anyways.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'd like to
don't
do
think
this
so.
early on next Wednesday, because this shouldn't take a lot of time.
Let me, is the building ADA compliant right now?
Is way out of ADA compliance.
So I ask a lot of questions of curiosity.
No, absolutely.
When you were talking about money, if it's not ADA compliant, how does the Bank of America get away with that? They have to make it ADA compliant.
Well, that's what they're doing.
Well, but then I don't understand where money enters in, because if they
Oh,
have to make it
okay, all
compliant,
right.
then they have to make it
ADA
compliant. They
just
have to
has
do
a
what we ask them
dollar
to
sign
do.
in front of
To
it.
be perfectly honest, I don't think there's anything that compels them to have to make it ADA compliant. There's no entity that comes and tells them your site's out of compliance because they're grandfathered in as an existing site. This is something that they're doing at a lot of their different facilities.
There's two
for
different,
corporate
there's
reasons.
the American with Disabilities Act, and then there's the Mass Architectural Access Board. The Access Board is triggered by certain thresholds of improvements. So if they were spending $100,000 to make improvements here, then it would trigger an accessible entrance.
So you're telling me this building doesn't have to have handicap access right now?
That's the Architectural Access Board. But
The
the
AD
American with Disability Act is a civil rights legislation. So if somebody was disabled and unable to be accommodated here, then they could file a lawsuit. That's the way that works. It's not triggered by a building code like
That's
the
why they
access
use
board
their
is.
small entrance to the right, not their old main entrance.
Well, they have a ramp. It's just
Yes.
probably the ramp is too steep and.
But those
Yeah,
are the
a person
trigger.
has a way in, they could come around the sidewalk up Elliott Street and then in. That Elliott Street itself is an ADA compliant, it's too steep along the roadway. There's not much you can do about that.
Okay, why don't we do this early on?
So we have publicly proclaimed the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen at 7 o'clock. That's
Okay.
not a public hearing, it's not legally mandated to be at 7. If you think that this can get done in a few minutes before then, I think that might be able to be,
I think that that's what we're going to think.
See you at 7 o'clock.
So sounds good. So just, I hate to beat this like a dead horse, just want to make sure I have all the issues before we go through. You want to change that chain link fence along the top of the retaining wall, take a look at the handrail material, certainly at least black or something cleaner. Look into extending the fence along High Street, and I've revised the plan so at least at a minimum it doesn't show it attaching to the wall.
Right, and you can call up Tim, who will, you probably have his contact information, and say, this is my idea of materials, and that would be good.
He's a pretty good judge.
On that fence, also indicate in your plan the spacing of the posts, you know,
Sure.
where the posts are. And then at least call out the anchored, so if it's going to be cored into the wall, that's fine without having to necessarily draw the post detail.
Yeah, they'll probably put it behind the wall.
Well, it would be good to have its location relative to the top of the wall, and then the method by which it's being attached.
Again, you understand, he's saying it's in the grass, it's just going to be into the ground. The chain link fence that he was going to put there was just going to be put in the ground.
They're not even, then you're not going to be able to withhold
No,
anybody.
They're
You're
probably
going to have
they're
concrete
probably
or
going to have
something.
some
Well,
concrete.
yeah, it'll be buried into the ground with a concrete footing of some sort
Yeah.
of in the ground.
Okay, anything else?
and so I'll also draft up a document that can be signed on Wednesday.
Why don't you do that? Because that would mean that you would be getting the same time frame even if we acted tonight.
Couldn't have gone better. Right?
All right, I'm glad that you're happy.
Cool, awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming in. Now, it's 8 o'clock. This is excellent.
Can I just, I don't know, there's some new people that walked in. If
I'm
you're,
about to say
how are
that.
you? I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to do it earlier, but
Well, I saw them walk out after they, but in any event, we continued the hearing on Beechwood Lane, 683 Brush Hill Road, definitive subdivision modification until December 8th at 7:15. And so we're not going to hear that tonight. Now, this is the time, 8 o'clock, that the Carrick Realty Trust, 131 Elliott Street, has been continued to. And is there anyone here with regard to that hearing?
Alex, did you take a vote to continue this?
We've taken the vote to continue Beechwood.
This
No.
one.
This,
Bank of America.
well, we can do that.
I move we continue it.
What? Okay. Do
Second.
we have a second? Continued until,
7
When?
o'clock.
7 p.m. on the 16th.
okay. We've got a date and we've got a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, we've continued Beechwood earlier. Carrick, there is no one here, 131 Elliott Street. And what we have is, we have a plan and we have a drainage plan, and the developer thinks the drainage plan is fine, and the DPW and the town engineer don't think the drainage plan is fine. And so we have something of an impasse, and it seems to me that it would be, there are a couple of things we could do with the drainage plan. We could suggest that that we get our peer reviewer to look at what there is and see whether the peer reviewer agrees with the developer that everything is basically in order and ready to go, or whether the peer reviewer agrees with the DPW and the town engineer that everything, that there's a lot of work still required on the plan, on the drainage plan. So we would ask the developer, we'd ask the peer reviewer what it would cost, and then we would ask the developer whether the developer is willing to pay the cost of a peer review. And if the developer says no, then my suggestion is we take the matter to a vote and vote on the plan and assume that the matter of drainage remains to be determined, and make a condition of an approval, one condition of approval, that an approved drainage plan has to be produced before the permit will become operative. And since the Conservation Commission has to review the drainage plan and give it its okay, I think that we could perhaps push this matter to the Conservation Commission to act on, although I think that the peer review would be easiest. So my suggestion is that we continue this hearing. I think the developer will probably get wind of the fact that we discussed it. And perhaps, Tim, you could get an estimate from the peer reviewer on what it might cost, and then see if the developer agrees. In any event, continue this
Alex,
hearing until the
question?
6th?
Question.
Yeah.
We have a draft special permit that some of us circulated comments on some time ago when we thought it was on the agenda and would be discussed. Is
Yeah.
the intention to review that draft language with the proposed amendments at some point in time?
I think that would be right. I think that on the 6th of December, we wouldn't continue the hearing, but we would establish
December.
what?
8th of December.
The 8th of December. We can put it, it doesn't have to be first on the agenda, but we can discuss at that point just where we're going, because we can't just keep continuing this forever. We know what the issue is. The issue is that there's a dispute about the drainage. And it shouldn't be a dispute because the drainage is pretty straightforward.
As
What?
the town pretty much outlined where they have a difference with the design?
The town says that the plan submitted originally is simply not adequate, and we don't have a particular good idea on exactly where all the problems are. The peer reviewer, if we could do a peer review, would be able to help us out there, but the town engineer has written a letter, and I believe that you got the letter at an earlier time. Didn't we circulate that?
Yeah.
I can
Saying
redistribute that. if
a number of things. In any event, we're going to try and get this thing off the mark, and I think that the developer will be able to see that we're going to do something At least I think we should do something.
Why is it nobody showed up tonight? Do you know?
I
The
think,
impasse is just
I
such
think
that
the impasse was what we were going to discuss.
So do we have some communication occurring between either the planners or from the board and the developer?
There is
There-
still a negotiation between the applicant and the Board of Selectmen regarding conveyance of the town-owned property, which is sort of a precursor to issuing this special permit. So I think,
Well, we said we could do that as a condition,
We
didn't we?
we
Yeah.
could do a contingency there, too.
I mean, my only concern is I really like this project. I think it would be a huge benefit to the neighborhood, and I'm nervous about doing anything that's going to cause something not to move forward because we didn't have some sort of dialogue with the applicant. So I just want to make sure that there's somebody that's having some dialogue. I know I'm not, but
I have had some dialogue. I
Okay.
have suggested that the original engineer be retained by the applicant to go to the DPW and discuss with the DPW what the DPW and town engineer consider to be problems with the engineer's plan. And that I have not heard that that's happened. I mean, that's the obvious, what to do. That would be the best thing to do. Getting the peer reviewer to say whether or not she agrees with the applicant or the town would be the next best thing, but it would cost some dough, and the applicant may not want to pay the dough. And then the next thing is to say, okay, look, we're going to just make the drainage a condition. We're going to discuss all the other aspects of the plan and make a decision on it. And it may be that's what we're going to have to do, although the applicant has indicated the planning board to decide the drainage.
No.
But we can't decide the drainage as matters now stand. So,
thank you for that color to the story.
I will entertain a motion that we continue this until December 8th, Tim, at a certain time.
7:30?
7:30, sounds like a good time.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, we get to Pulte Homes, special permit for a cluster development. It's a continued hearing. It's continued from October 27th, and we have a full applicant team here ready to report on what has transpired since we last met.
Thank you,
So
Alex.
welcome, and introduce yourselves.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. As Alex just said, I'm here with my team. So again, for the record, my name is Mark Mastriani. I'm with Pulte Homes. We're the applicant of the cluster subdivision. Mike Rosati is here with me again tonight from Marchand and Associates, who's doing the plans and the engineering. And again with us tonight is Chris Huntress from Huntress Landscaping, who is helping us with our landscape architecture and some of the fine designs and renderings that we've been working on. And as Alex mentioned, I do have a whole slew of list of things that we've accomplished and followed up on since the last meeting, and I'd be happy to run down and give a summary of those.
And we're anxious to hear what they are.
Okay.
We see you've come up with an entirely new set of plans.
We have. Well, so the set of plans before you is an updated, complete set of plans that essentially incorporates all of the responses and changes that we've been making over the last 6 months during the course of all of the hearings we've had. And it incorporates all of our comments to the board's comments and to the peer review stormwater comment and to comments we've received from engineering and DPW. So the set of plans is really an updated comprehensive set of plans that we tried to capture all in one place. And in addition to the plans, there's a updated stormwater report that was also submitted to this board and also provided to Ms. Eggleston, which incorporates all of the revisions that we made to the stormwater design to satisfy her review. So, so the first item is, we do believe we've finally completed the stormwater peer review. This has been a long process, and a very comprehensive review was done by Lisa Eggleston and her team. We've been going back and forth. She was here a couple meetings ago and had some remaining comments, and since that time, Mike and his team have responded to her. Just on Tuesday, we received an email that she had a couple very minor comments left, and the plans before you in the stormwater report that was submitted addressed her 2 very minor comments that remain. So I believe that we've satisfied Lisa and her peer review at this time, and that should be resolved. The second item is street lighting that we talked about at the last planning board meeting at length. And since the meeting, we have submitted revised street lighting information to the board, and we have been communicating with engineering on the street lighting. So,
Just excuse me for one moment. Is that captured in this set of drawings, or is that separate?
The
The
street lighting?
Mhm.
It is captured in those drawings. So
Okay.
on those drawings, there are now 7 proposed streetlight locations, and Tim just called it up on the screen. So if you recall, at the last meeting, we had proposed 4. So there's 2 at the entrance off of Unquity Road, and then we had 1 at this dark spot at the corner, and then we had proposed a 4th light at the terminus cul-de-sac at the end of the road. And again, what we try to do in our residential single-family developments is we provide lighting for wayfinding and safety, and not really to light up every corner of the street. Our homeowners don't like that, and we don't really think it's that applicable in a neighborhood such as this. And a lot of towns really are leaning towards dark sky and trying to minimize light pollution. So we try to find the balance. But there was some discussion that maybe we could add some more lights, but not too many, but looked for ways to adding more. So this exhibit here does show that we've incorporated 3 more lights along the sidewalk. So this one made a lot of sense because there's a common driveway here that comes up to these 4 homes. And this made a lot of sense here because there's a wetland here, so there is not a house here because of the wetland. Because one of the reasons we don't provide too many streetlights is that there are homes, it is a cluster subdivision, and these homes do have garage lights and front door lights and things like that that are turned on throughout the night. So under this new proposed scenario, we think we achieve that balance, and so there are 7 total lights now, and they're scattered, pretty evenly distributed throughout the street. And then those are the locations, and we also submitted an updated street spec to the board. It's a spec that we received from engineering, and essentially our guidance that we received was to use the lights that had been previously used at Fletcher Steel Way. So this picture here is a Google Earth. I drove my Google Earth car down the street and snapped the photo. And so this is on Fletcher Steel Way, and it's the spec that we were provided from engineering. So what we've done is taken that light, and we've provided a spec of a similar light. And it's actually, I think it's the exact light, because he gave us the invoice of when those streetlights were put in like 10 years ago, and we went on to the website from using those same codes. But anyway, so this is antique streetlights, and you can see that it's an clear acorn fixture. It looks like the one that was provided to us, and we also provided a street a street pole spec. The fixture is 3 feet tall in length approximately, and the pole is 13 feet tall. And we've added that information onto the plans. I will say that Jack Calabro is someone who we've been speaking with from the town, and he does have one remaining comment that we're going back and forth on, but it's really the controls of the lighting. He was interested on how it was being set up in the controls and the meter and things like that. So I think they're more construction related items, but we'll continue to work with him on the setup of the.
Is it, where is that positioned relative to the sidewalk? Is it on the same side as the sidewalk?
It is, they are. If you go back to the exhibit, we did locate all of the lights on the sidewalk side of the street.
And relative to the sidewalk, do you know where that is?
Is it in the grass strip or is it
Yes,
behind the
it's in the-
sidewalk?
it's in the
It's in the
grass strip.
grass strip between the street and the sidewalk in the right-of-way.
And did engineering, I'm sorry, Alex, may I just ask this last
Of
question?
course.
Did engineering have any concerns about, like, the mounting location? Sometimes they like them to be up a little bit, like on a concrete, pedestals, so for snowplow,
Yeah.
not to have damage.
No, he didn't comment. These are direct bury light poles, and I think if you go back to the example, I don't know, I think those are direct bury as well. They are. So what we're proposing is definitely similar to that.
Okay. Okay.
The third item that we have followed up on is we spent a great deal of time talking about the entrance drive, the design of the entrance drive, the look of the entrance drive off of Unquity Road. So one of the things that we wanted to prepare, and this is definitely where Mr. Huntress helped us, try to bring the 2D black and white set of plans that are before you and turn it and bring it to life and really try to show the board and what we're proposing the entrance drive to look like. And I think this graphic is dynamite, frankly, and I'm really pleased with the way it came out. So one of some key things that you see here is the 2 street lights are shown at the entrance drive, and again, those will provide lighting for safety at the entranceway and visibility. We do have some of the bicycle safety elements that we discussed at the last meeting that I know is important to the board and important to us. There is a stop bar and a stop sign located at the drive, and then also the enhanced painting of the bicycle lane to help drivers identify and see that that bike lane is there. One thing that this rendering doesn't show because it's not zoomed out far enough, but they are located on Mike's new set of plans that's before you, but up 100 feet from the entrance, we have proposed a bicycle sign, and it's a picture of a bicycle, and then there's a 100-foot arrow, and essentially it's located 100 feet in advance of the bike lane, so that will alert our drivers who are driving down the hill towards Unquity. And then on this side of Unquity, so if you're riding your bike northbound, we've located an entrance ahead sign, and again, that's at 100 feet before the entrance drive. So those are the 2 signs that we discussed at the last meeting, and certainly the sign on Unquity Road is subject to DCR approval. But we will propose it and we will submit it.
Thank you.
Question, sorry.
You're welcome.
I had a conversation with the applicant after, not the last meeting, but the meeting before that, because I wouldn't be able to be here, and we talked about a number of things relative to bike safety, so I appreciate
absolutely.
your responsiveness.
Just a quick question. How wide is the sidewalk at that location, next to the wall?
5 feet.
5 feet?
Yeah, a couple other items on this perspective that I wanted to mention is we did cap the lower wall at a pier here, and then kind of carried this cedar fence out around the bend. And then the upper walls, we've softened, we've turned inward on each side so that you don't see the butt end of the wall, and it adds a really a nice planting area, an area to add a sign and some color and plantings. And then the last thing that became obvious to me when we prepared this perspective that we hadn't mentioned in the past, because we've been really focused on the scar, or what will this look like from Unquity, and yes, we're cutting down all these trees, but of course we're building these walls in order to minimize the disturbance. So I think that's really important. But the other really important thing is that because of the topography and because of the distance of DCR land, the uniqueness of that, and the way that the road bends around the corner before we even get to our first home, this is actually a pretty unique entranceway where that you won't see any of our homes from Unquity, and I think that's a substantial point to make, and a benefit of this project, especially with the feel of Unquity Road and the type of road that it is. So I think this perspective is pretty accurate. It's definitely modeled in real life, and the topography and the distance and the curve and the existing trees that will remain really lend itself to a nice, a really visually pleasing entranceway. So what we're proposing is street trees, along the in front of the lower wall, every 100 feet, 50 feet, something like that. And then in between the street trees, we have these ornamental trees on the shelf there. So you'll see street trees at the lower level, and then colorful decorative ornamental trees on the shelf. And then of course when you get to the top of the second wall, then you'll be back in the forest. So
Does that show up on one of the plans?
it does. There's updated landscaping plans at the end. I think it's L1 or L2 that have been added, and Chris has added in
Okay, there we go.
a blow up of the entryway design.
The last sheet, okay, thank you.
Happy to.
Yeah, go, please.
So the rendering that we prepared, one thing I'd just like to add is that we did model that in AutoCAD. So I'm very comfortable with the heights of the walls, the dimensions, the spatial feel of that. We also, as Mark had said, we modeled it first without any trees to see if we were going to be able to see any of the houses at all. You did see a roof line without trees there. You could see a roof line in the AutoCAD model, but as soon as we put the trees in, obviously it disappeared. But when I say a roof line, it was actually very little of the building that you saw. So I can say with confidence that what you see here spatially is exactly what you're going to get. And we actually informed a little bit of the design. We worked quite closely with Mike's office as we were detailing our 3D perspective to do things like how do we terminate these walls? How do we radius a wall to be able to get some signage in? And are the walls in the right proportion? So we actually were able to give some information back to Mike's office, and they've updated their plans to reflect these improvements as well. Obviously, a little bit of creative license taken with regard to some of the artistic elements here, but spatially and dimensionally, this is right on.
I can't help but notice right off, the wall on the left, the second tier wall, if you will, seems to continue on a great deal of distance longer than it does in plan view here.
On the left?
Yeah, on the
Well,
left.
it's actually cut, it ends right at the end of that picture there. So that's the radius turn that you see, and then it terminates right there.
And still, this just doesn't seem to visually depict what I see on drawing L1 here, if you look right at L1.
I know where it is.
L1,
Sure.
it ends almost right behind the pier on the end of the first wall.
There's a bit of a turn there that maybe you're not picking up, but it's,
I'm not. And you seem to have a nice sweeping turn here. It seems to be a distinct angle here. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is what you've depicted there is very nice. And if this should go forward, I'd like to see they go out there, that's what it looks like.
We will.
And it's just the plan here that if I'm the contractor and I'm working off, I don't seem to be building what you have there.
No.
So you see, there's the pier, there's the end of the wall. It just, I can't believe
right-
that what I'm picturing there, or what I'm
Right in,
seeing.
what you may not be seeing is right in here is that turn in the wall. So the wall used to just have a butt end right in here, and this piece that you see that extends beyond that is that radius turn that, if you can slide that picture
So
over just a
give me
little
the
bit
turn on the wall again. Would you put your,
more. Right in here.
okay, so slow down with me for a second.
Yeah.
So from that turn on the wall, going back into the site, those two
Right.
walls parallel each other exactly.
Correct.
They don't diverge away from each other coming forward to that
Right
end?
here. No, they're parallel right to this point, and then this turn, this section
I'm
is
just not
turned.
visually seeing it.
It's a hard thing to pick up in the rendering, but that is the point, and then this terminates back in and returns. So that is that little piece that you see
Give me that turning point again? I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
right here.
And if I look at your scale here, on this scale here, the wall continues, what on an inch scale, it maybe continues 20 feet from that point? So you're telling me from where you're showing me that corner to the end of that picture, that's 20 feet?
Yes.
From there, over there is 20 feet. I guess what I'm getting at is I like your picture better than what I think I see here in the drawing, but you're telling me that that's it.
Well, yeah, if you don't mind, Tim, moving that back over to show the whole image again. I do appreciate having the rendering. I think it's beneficial, most beneficial, because we talked about this at our last meeting. I'm wondering, on the right too, I'm trying to kind of do the same thing Mike's doing on that side, is we've got this retention area
You do.
here, right?
Yep.
And there's is that a wall around it?
There is and should be a detention basin here. I will tell you, from an artistic rendering standpoint, it was difficult to draw. So we were having some trouble with this little foreground area here. Everything is in the right place. It was difficult to get the grade to respond the way that we
Okay.
wanted it to right in there. So when I say
So-
we took a little creative license, that's the spot I'm referring to.
Okay, so how much is it dropping down in that location?
I would have to defer to Mike on that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to grab my plan, but it's about 3 or 4 feet. So, and I think the wall is on the inside of the basin, like, so if you were on the street, I'm not sure if he's got the wall on the backside also. Yes, he does. Okay, so you would see down below the road, you would see a little of that wall.
That basin, again, with your scale, comes to probably within, certainly significantly less than 20 feet, probably 10 feet from that pier.
So, Mike, if you go back to that picture, I wanted to say one thing about the scale on that drawing. Where the car is, if you go up more to the top, that road is fatter at Unquity Road, but as you get up to the top of the hill there, that's 20 feet, that width that's up there. So, I don't know if
need a
you
scale?
kind of approximate where that is. A better idea of the scale of the drawing.
Thank you.
So I noticed that the bottom of the wall was at elevation 42, and the elevation of the of the road itself is, 46 at the shoulder. So the basin is 4 feet below the top of the berm, so
But
so if I could describe that for you, the elevation of the top of the basin is going to be higher than Unquity Road and the proposed road. It goes up a little first and then goes back down. So the road itself where the car is around just under 44.
I think more important than the elevation is, according to that drawing, it's 7 feet off of the edge there, so the basin's right here someplace, going that way.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
again, I think your rendering is beautiful. It's just, I like to say in the business I do, we like to under-promise and over-deliver.
Yep.
And with no basin there, when there is a basin there, and maybe I don't visually grasp on the left, but it seems like you might be over-promising here and possibly under-delivering.
Well, I can certainly appreciate the concern. I don't think we are. I think I know that we built this in CAD and that it really is dimensionally correct. I will tell you, and partly I think a lot of it was because of the angle. Getting that basin to read correctly in this rendering was a bit of a challenge, and I apologize for that shortcoming on our end. But
So
the
it seems
rest,
to me maybe it's foreshortened a bit this way, Mike, it's kind of compressed this way.
And if it's higher, like you said, it shows what represents the stone wall, so you'd see another stone wall there in front of the Milton Woods sign.
Yeah.
That's, apparently they're telling me it's higher.
So,
It's missing.
That's why I think it appears foreshortened this way, because what we see here seems like there's more
Well, I can tell you-
room between the flowers and the fence than what appears in the rendering. That's,
The basin in depth from road going back is like 25 feet.
this is,
So
the
what you're
last
saying is
photo.
it looks like it doesn't even fit there.
Yeah.
so if I could just interject a little bit, the road being at 42 or 43 Unquity Road, and the top of the berm being 46 would probably be kind of the height of your eye if you were standing on Unquity Road. And the top of the wall on the opposite side, the one that you'd probably likely see, is also 46. So the front berm is going to kind of screen the back wall a little bit. Once you start to get up on the road, then you'll start to see the wall on the far side as you're approaching it. Does that make any sense?
So is it possible that you won't see the Milton Woods sign if I'm standing?
No, that's much higher, Mike. I guess what I'm trying to say is if we just went with that picture a second, you would have a 3-foot-high berm coming off of Unquity Road going to the fence. The fence would be on like
what you
an
have there,
elevation
yeah.
that's like 3 feet higher than the curb line. And that would be level with the top of the wall on the far side of the basin. So if you couldn't see over the berm when you were standing on Unquity Road, you wouldn't see the wall, but you probably are going to see over it because, you're 5 feet above the ground instead of 3. So I think you would catch the back of the wall from eye view on Unquity Road. So there should be a portion of that showing. It might be somewhere like at the top of the fence, where the top of the fence is. You might see that if you pushed it, behind. That might be where the top of the wall is.
The top of the wall for the basin?
Yes.
You're telling me here it's top of wall 46?
Right. So that berm right there at the front, say the bottom of the fence is 46. So we would have a wall 20 feet behind that at the same height of that elevation, right? But your eye is reading at 48.
I think it looked graphically,
Wall is 5
the
feet
way
behind
I see this is that that based on the plan, that maybe your flower line might be here and that your wall might be in here. So in this zone in here might be where your basin is, in terms of the foreshortening.
Basin right there.
I'm thinking the top of the wall would be right at the bottom of that landscaping that you're seeing
Here?
right in there, yep.
yeah.
Right, so this would be where the basin is in here.
But
No, forward of that.
Forward of that? Okay.
That would be the far wall.
I think
That's
you
the
started to
back
make the
wall, you're
point
saying.
earlier, Cheryl. The fence to the wall that says Milton Woods, the basin is 25 feet in depth there, but that Milton Woods sign from the fence
Back from there.
is back about 50 feet.
Yeah,
It just doesn't,
it's like it's
depth
foreshortened.
doesn't,
Yeah.
but the fact that the basin's missing is kind of a missing element of that
Visual
rendering.
element, yeah.
Well, you're suggesting the rendering is a little hard to justify the basis of the plan.
Well, no, what I see in plan view here, some of the elements are missing.
Up there.
And it's just, when you show something like that to people and they say, oh, isn't that beautiful, which it is, and then the day the construction's done, they're saying, well, I don't see no pond in that picture, and you got a pond there now.
Well, the question it really makes you wonder is whether that edge can be moved over a little bit. So, Tim, if you can go back to the plan. It makes you wonder if you can just change that a little bit. Is it something that does, kind of, I don't.
Really can't do that.
No.
That dimension
pond
in
is-
there is 5 feet from the pier at the end of the wall to the wall at the basin is 5 feet between them.
Well, while we're at this, I think one of the other things we talked about was school buses and school children waiting areas, and whether a bus was going to go up to pick up or children would have to be waiting here. Did you happen to have any conversations with the town about that?
We did.
Okay.
So actually, Mr. Clark helped us with that, and my understanding, not putting words in your mouth, is that you spoke with somebody who said they would not drive the bus up this street.
Buses will not go up that street. I talked to Mr. Pavlicek, and he said, no, buses do not go up that street.
Then I think we have to have a design accommodation for students to be waiting here with their parents, because a 5-foot wide sidewalk and then having fencing right there, if the bus is going to pull up in that bike lane to pick them up, I think we need to have, I think we required that at Woodmere, is that right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, so a place to wait.
We
And
did incorporate a bench into the design.
We didn't see
I
that
don't
in
know
the
if that's what
rendering
you're
though, right?
speaking of.
Check
Yeah,
that.
it's outside the
The
limits of the
rendering,
rendering, but
Oh,
we do
yeah,
have
no, it
a,
wasn't in there.
we do have a
Rendering
bench.
didn't go
It
over
was
that
cut
far.
off before that edge. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be over,
At the
it would
end of
be
the
around the
fence.
bend, it would be over here. There's a bench there.
It's on the plan.
It's on the plan, so it's right here. I don't know if that's
That's it.
as much as what
But, I mean,
you're
I don't know,
speaking
if I'm
of.
thinking about an elementary school child and I'm thinking about Unquity Road and the bench is really right there on in the bike lane facing Unquity Road, that's not the ideal location for that, I believe. I really think it should be a bit more interior so that it's related to this street more than the Unquity Road.
Where would the bus stop?
Well, if that's not going to go up the street, it's going to be stopping on Unquity, right?
That's right, but
But my feeling is if you have children waiting, right, and you know how young children are, they're going to not just be sitting here patiently waiting on the
Bouncing
bench.
around.
So, I mean, they're going to be in the bike lane playing or while they're hanging out. I don't know, I just feel as if back in here is really better spot for the
The
have
bus
young
could
children
still stop where the bench is
Yeah.
positioned now, but I think what you're saying is you want to encourage them to congregate a little more interior.
More safe, right,
Back in there.
yeah.
What did you do at Woodmere that you mentioned?
Well, I think it was.
They actually wrap the wall around it.
Yeah,
The wall comes down in the end. They actually wrap the wall around, and there's an area behind the wall.
Is that the name of a street or the name of the development?
that's the name of the development.
You
No,
know-
it's not Woodmere, it's Beechwood.
Oh, it's Beechwood? All right, sorry.
Beechwood Lane, 6.
Beechwood Lane.
but what did we do at Woodmere?
We didn't. There's no buses at Woodmere.
Oh, well, Woodmere was designed to be an adult community.
Yes.
55, yeah. I'm sorry, I got the
Main
wrong
Road,
one.
just a little bit down the street. Beechwood.
We can look at that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, why don't you keep going?
okay, I'll keep going down the DL list here. Number 4, I mentioned previously that on the full-size set of plans that's before you, we did incorporate the additional bike signage that Mr. Michaud, who was here last time, spoke about. Number 5, we did follow up with engineering and DPW again and concluded on the stormwater management system maintenance responsibilities. So in the stormwater management report, there is a chart which delineates the responsible parties of who's maintaining the different BMPs associated with the stormwater system. Joe Lynch and John Thompson did have a chance to review that and did respond back that our proposal and our understanding is acceptable and we're all coordinated. And essentially, the town will maintain the BMPs that's in the street in addition to the basin that's off of Unquity and DCR land, and the homeowners association will maintain everything else. Another item that we've submitted is we have taken the language of the tree cut restriction that we've previously provided, and we've turned it into a more legal, official, enforceable document called the tree cut restriction. We have submitted this to the board. This document definitely gives the town teeth for enforcement. My assumption would be that this document would be a condition of the permit, to be recorded as a condition of the permit, and then certainly would be referenced in the deeds to each of the lots on lots 13 through 23 that are affected. Some of the language in this document that we updated based on last meeting was that the regrading, filling of soil, or altering shape of the restricted land area is now prohibited. We did remove the signs from the permitted activities. And we updated the fencing to only allow black vinyl chain link fence, or a wooden post and rail fence. So those were items that we specifically discussed at the last meeting.
I'm sorry, before we get to the detail of this, were you reading off of this in terms of the things, which is the November 9th memo?
No, that's a
Or are you
cover
just
letter
reading off
that.
of your notes, or?
No, I was not reading off of that. That's
Okay.
a cover letter that Mike and his office put
Okay.
together and submitted with the plans today to, Tim had asked for a kind of a bullet point list of some of the plan modifications that we've made to the plans before you, and that's what that is.
So, Mr. Chair, Alex, did you intend to go through this tonight as well, then, this document that was
I
in our
actually
packet?
don't recall seeing that, so
Wasn't in your packet?
I hadn't intended to do it,
Okay.
but
All
I
right.
probably should have seen it, but I haven't.
All right.
But I do think that that's going to be I think we better have Brian here to do that.
Okay.
And it's important. And we're going to want to have the town, we're going to want to be able to identify violations and to remedy them. In other words, if a violation is identified, and there has to be an ability for whoever, the building inspector, to be able to identify that a violation has occurred and to, basically go on the site and count the stumps that are there. And if a violation has occurred, to have the town have teeth to say, well, you violated this, now you have to fix it. And the person whose property is impacted presumably would fix it, and the condo or the homeowners association would have an obligation to make sure that they did.
So
Something along those lines.
can I just point out a couple of things for
Yeah.
consideration
Yes.
when you're looking at it in
Yes.
detail? On the first page, in the second paragraph. Jim, do you have it right there? Where it says, "The land hereinafter described shall be kept in an open or natural state," and it says that twice. Then if you go to the second page, 1G, it refers to open and natural state. I believe it is open and natural, not open or natural. So I'd like to suggest that second paragraph where it says open or should be changed to open and.
But of course, the word open is a question, because
Well, there's
we
no
want-
definitions for these,
We
but.
want this to be a buffer.
Right.
And open land is not a good buffer.
Right, so that's my point there. And then the other, I still am not comfortable with black vinyl chain link. I think I suggested stone. I think perhaps wood post and rail might
What are these
better
fences
than
for?
potential for fence that's
I'm
black
sorry.
chain link,
Cheryl.
yeah.
Dog runs?
Yeah, that would be one possibility, and just that this is a person's property, lot, so it would be a delineation of their property and the land they own versus the open space.
Well, that's why I think a delineation, like historically on this property, the delineation was stone, right? So stone walls being removed in this development, and stones being stockpiled, right? So it would be in keeping with the character of this property to use the stone walls to delineate. But I can see where possibly a wood post, if it's a simple sort of agricultural, kind of like what you were showing at the entryway, that would maybe be in keeping as well. But I don't think black vinyl chain link would be in keeping with open and natural. I think that would serve as a barrier and would be a visual barrier even if it's black, because first of all, if there's wildlife that's intended to have some opportunity in here, they could probably get through and over chain link, the wood post and the stone, but certainly not the chain link. So I still have concerns about that.
Well, I think that we need to discuss that and decide just how forceful the restriction has to be be an adequate substitute, to be an adequate buffer zone constituent. Because this is taking the place of open space, and it's somewhat less restrictive because the landowner is going to own it, but we still want the effect to be the same.
Can we have John Flynn look at this?
What?
Can we have John Flynn look at this?
Why don't we discuss it first?
Yeah, no, I just,
And then we
Yeah.
can certainly asking with respect to the enforcement mechanism
Yeah.
is something that John will have
Right.
to.
we can tailor it, but I'd just like him to look at it to see how much teeth it has.
Yeah.
So that's actually, the enforcement is actually a comment that I had, if you're done with your comment. In section 3, access by planning board, enforcement, access by public, it talks about the planning board, planning staff, and the building department really being the ones to be the enforcement mechanism. I think that should probably just be the building inspector.
Well, we could, unless the planning
planning
director
staff.
really wants to be able to get out and say, I'm going to go inspect Milton Woods today.
I like my pit bull, Joe Prondak.
I think the building inspector or building department through one or more duly designated members, I think is fine, but I don't think certainly not the planning board and likely not the planning staff have to be in there.
Okay.
And once again, the building inspector needs to be able to know what's going on.
This document has all the teeth that
Okay, well, I'm going to,
typically involved.
I'm sorry I didn't read it, but I didn't. But I look forward to reading it.
Would it be useful, and for Brian's benefit, who will be watching this hearing in order to participate next time, and just for the record, I usually do this at the beginning. April wasn't here last time, but I had her sign a Mullen Rule form, so that's part of this file. She's eligible to continue in this hearing. If Mark could just sort of, just the highlights of the enforcement and the teeth that we're talking about for the benefit of the TV watching public and to inform your reading.
Do you mind one last thing? I forgot to mention the comment that I had. Tree cut restriction, I'm wondering if this really should be something called buffer zone restriction, because it's not just the cutting of trees, there's other things that it's restricting.
That's probably right.
I agree.
Okay. Okay. Tim, your suggestion?
Yeah, the title, I was going to say misleading, but maybe that's strong, but the title would lead you to believe something other than what we're trying to accomplish here.
So Mark, if you want to just like go through,
Right.
if you want to just outline some of the highlights of the enforcement sort of issues.
So I could, but, you know, I was just conferring with my associate here. This document was written by our attorney and really guided by our attorney. So I don't really feel comfortable going through line item by line item and detailing the teeth, because I don't know if I would do it justice, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't know if I would correctly and fully describe the different paragraphs. I think what we would like to happen is if the board or if Attorney Flynn could review and comment on it, and we, you know, we're happy to adjust and to continue to cooperate with the board, but I think that would be our request.
It's a perfectly reasonable request. I think the board should review it before Mr. Flynn reviews it, just because if the board changes it, then we've spent a lot of money on Mr. Flynn for naught. So why don't we discuss this at our next meeting? And I will write up some comments, even though our next meeting is only 6 days away. What?
You don't want to run parallel tracks of review on that?
What?
Of having the board look at it and town council looking at it?
I think that it's, the town council charges, I don't know if this is part of his retainer. Once again, that'd be fine, have him, we might as well have him do whatever. But I don't think it's a legal issue until we decide whether or not we're comfortable with the parameters of what's been proposed.
Do we have a Word version or an editable copy? Or can we get an editable copy so we can make the comments, pass it on to the attorney, and give it back to you and say, this is...
I think you gave it to me at work.
Yeah,
If I did, that's great. If I didn't, I can certainly get that
Well,
to
yeah,
you
we can
tomorrow.
do that, that's fine.
That way you can make comments, everybody can make comments, we can incorporate them into a final draft. I agree with you, then give it to John Flynn, then move forward.
I think that people should be ready. I'm sorry I'm not ready, but I'm not. But I will be. What else?
No, that's what we had for you tonight. You know, I had a closing statement that, you know, want to just acknowledge that, you know, I think we've had a pretty good dialogue over the course of the last 6 months, you
Yeah.
know, going back and forth, and I think we've been very responsive to the board's comments and discussions and peer review and engineering, and at some point, and I was hoping tonight to see if we could start discussing moving to the next step and maybe talking about you know, making a decision, or not tonight, but moving towards drafting you know, a decision.
A permit.
Permit, yeah.
Do
So,
we have an issue on affordable housing?
do we have, I don't know if we have an issue, but as part of the requirements of the zoning, we've proposed to comply with the requirements by rehabbing one of the historic homes that's remaining on the town farm, the Men's Almshouse, or by providing them off-site, should the trustees not want us to, or approve of us restoring one of the homes. I would,
Well,
Had a question about whether the trustees have rendered any opinion about it. That's about, no?
No.
And is it been officially sort of submitted to them as the way to address this requirement?
It has, I'm not sure that they haven't taken a definitive stance. They're more, they want to look at the 4 acres holistically, not piecemeal.
they can do this, but, you know, when we write a permit, presumably we're going to have some sort of
Identify where.
we're going to have to specify whether or not the requirement for affordable housing has been met. And if we don't know what is proposed, and if we say, well, make the almshouse into a duplex, that's, you know, we could say that, but the zoning doesn't provide for duplexes. And presumably, I mean, we can't just say build a duplex on the town farm, because it's not part of your land, and it's not part of the application. And then, of course, the question is what we're going to do about the pest house. And it seems to me that the trustees, I mean, what do we provide? We say you're going to have to do 3 affordable units, but we don't know
2.
just what
Yeah.
it's going to be. I mean, we can't, it seems to me we have to provide something that's reasonably doable.
Do you have a proposal for off-site, aside from the men's almshouse? Did you do any research on where you might provide 2 units somewhere else?
Yeah, so we, as part of our proposal, we're proposing to relocate the pest house to the remaining 4-acre town farm land. And as part of complying with the affordable housing requirement, we've proposed to rehab the men's almshouse into 2 units. Or if the trustees don't want to go that route anymore, then to do that off-site. And I think the zoning allows for this project to actually to rehab the almshouse into 2 units to satisfy the requirement. It's in the zoning, my understanding.
Well,
But the trustees, so my expectation was that the board would write a decision that conditioned those things happening, and then we would go to the trustees, and that would be kind of the next level of approvals that we needed to work out.
if we say you have to build a duplex at the town farm out of the almshouse, we can do that. I actually wrote the zoning and don't recall the provision that you've spotted.
Yeah, well, I think Tim can pull it up quickly, because it's at the
Section
end of the zoning.
21.
But the idea is
What?
that,
Now,
as Bill mentioned, if the trustees want to look at it holistically and they're years and years away from a master study of what they want to do, they may say, oh, we don't want us to do that anymore, and then in that case, having the flexibility of providing the 2 units off-site would seem fine to us, and it would really be up to the trustees, because when, 'cause that's, provision is there.
Okay, we have to consult with the historical commission, obviously.
We have met with the historical commission.
Okay, yeah, I've heard a request from the audience to read, if you don't mind. Section 21 of subsection J. The amendments to subsection J approved by town meeting in May 2014 shall not apply to cluster development of a parcel of land which is subject to a purchase and sale agreement dated before July 1st, 2013, if that agreement provides for cluster development of the land pursuant to subsection J. With respect to cluster development of such a parcel of land subject to such an agreement, the provisions of subsection J without the May 2014 amendment shall apply, provided that the purchaser under the agreement may elect to be subject to subsection J as amended. Such an election shall be made in writing in the application for a special permit and shall be irrevocable. In the event of such an election, after consultation with the Historical Commission, the Planning Board may authorize the rehabilitation and/or expansion of an existing historic building or buildings for its or their conversion into 2 units of housing eligible for inclusion on the subsidized housing inventory in satisfaction or partial satisfaction of the requirements for subsidized housing inventory eligible housing in paragraph 6. These housing units shall be located on a parcel of land of not less than 20,000 square feet, adjacent to but not part of the cluster development, with access to a street as may be deemed adequate by the planning board.
So that does not allow for off-site necessarily.
That doesn't allow for off-site. And the other thing is that, if this, just as a matter of process, if this is what we're proposing to do, to provide that the almshouse be made into 2 units of subsidized housing, it seems to me that the board needs to make it clear that this is its intention, and it needs to be able to receive public comment on what it proposes. So if it had wanted to do 2 units in the almshouse and then 1 unit of a different sort, and the other unit we could do a modification and provide for another unit, we really should tell the people what we're proposing, what the 3 units of affordable housing are going to be, and then get some feedback, because we can't just, we can't.
2 units.
What?
2 units.
2 units of, I thought there were, how many, is 24?
Yeah.
Oh, 2 units. Okay, so the almshouse would do it.
That was the intention when it was
But
written.
your point at the beginning about the trustees, I mean, if we specify that, the trustees say, no, we ain't gonna allow that, and what's the point?
Well, then we have to go back and change the zoning though, because that's the only option we have, right?
But we don't, I mean, then they can provide 2, we could do a modification of this thing if you wanted to do 2 affordable units by buying a duplex or 2 condominiums somewhere in town. We could do that, but we'd want to know that's what you want to do, and we would have to be convinced that's what you should do. And
But that would require a zoning change, wouldn't it?
what?
Wouldn't that require a zoning change?
Not if they went out and bought an existing dwelling.
Within 20,000 square feet.
Oh, well, that's on the town farm parcel. They would, presumably, the trustees would carve it up so that the almshouse would be on a 20,000 square foot parcel. They've got 4 acres. So
But wouldn't that last sentence preclude us from doing off-site?
Wouldn't it allow off-site?
Or wouldn't it preclude off-site?
But if we use our discretion to modify the requirements of the zoning, we
Oh.
could,
Yeah.
we could, but we would want to tell people what we were proposing, rather than just at some meeting saying, let's do this.
Well, it seems to me that
The trustees should.
First
the
place,
trustees need to weigh in, and then to say, I mean, where we're trying to locate affordable housing in projects of this nature on site, if we said, well, they could just pick a site off-site somewhere, it seems to me that the neighbors, beyond this particular property might wonder why they're absorbing the units that should be on this property.
So I have a
Just
proposal.
suggesting the public might want to be able to comment on that.
They
I
would
agree.
undoubtedly want to be able to comment.
So we have a meeting next week, proposed joint meeting with the selectmen to talk about the ice house. Tim tells me it's not too late to change our notice. Why don't we have a discussion on this topic as well?
I think that we
Just
should.
didn't the trustees have any input on this language?
No, I don't think so.
I just think we need some
I mean,
clarity from them.
they own the
look,
land.
Look,
They're the governance of the
they
land.
reviewed the zoning, they supported the zone, the selectmen did, the selectmen are the trustees,
So they
and
did.
presumably this has been out there for forever. And the proposal is to make the almshouse, to save it from sure ruin, which is going to happen if something doesn't happen soon.
Soon, right.
And, but we need the trustees to agree, because if this is what we're going to provide in our permit, this is what should be received, and this is what people should be able to comment on.
Yes. So I completely agree
Cheryl-
with what you were
Cheryl
both
makes a good
saying.
point,
Yeah, that I think people need to be able
It's-
to weigh in.
We're just.
But I
after that, we're
also-
just gonna throw darts and say where it lands in town?
I also do feel like we've made some significant progress with the applicant and that we should move this along. I mean, we have very, very few things to
That's right.
continue to discuss, so I think next Wednesday is the prime opportunity to talk with the trustees and cause some action on their part.
What is what were we thinking about next week, Tim? I mean, clearly, we're going to discuss this with the trustees.
The main purpose of the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, which is scheduled for around 7 o'clock, is a strategy for bringing potential ice house zoning to town meeting. There's also a discussion of some of the work that the Master Plan Implementation Committee has been doing. And then at 7:45, we have a continued public hearing on 245 Highland Street cluster.
So it's pretty busy.
It's
been worse.
no more.
Yeah,
or less
it's
busy
been
than
worse.
any other planning board meeting.
Let's discuss this with the the selectmen, and then say we'd like you to put on another hat and discuss with us as trustees. So we need posting of both, the trustees and the selectmen.
As long as we change that posting by close of business on Monday, we should be all set.
Okay.
So there's time
And
to-
this is something that you are committing
We,
to undertake?
oh, absolutely. I'm in the selectman's
Or
office.
at least telling the town administrator that we would appreciate it if they would. All right.
With all due tact and grace, we'll get this done.
And let's, towards the end of the meeting, we can discuss the document. And we hopefully can finish discussion of the document, but we will probably limit it to discussion of the document at that time and see where we end up. I would see there would be another meeting after that.
Alex,
Yeah.
may I also request that my request about addressing the
Bus stop.
bus stop be included in what we discussed?
Absolutely. Is this for next week's meeting? Is that what, or the week meeting, or?
Well, I think
Is this
that's
the
what we're-
joint meeting or the next planning board
So,
meeting?
next meeting, we're going to discuss this, right?
Yeah, I
The
don't think
buffer
we have
zone
time.
Right, we're going
restriction?
to do the legal work next time. We're going to discuss the affordable housing with the selectmen, and then on the following meeting, it seems to me that the other details need to be,
Well, I mean, I think I would agree that there's no reason to delay keeping it moving forward. You know, that this accommodation could be made, you know, as we start to look at the language, if you're willing to do that. I'm just suggesting that that was an outstanding issue that needs to be,
all right, a better layout of the, of including, you know, showing what, what actually is going to happen. A better elevation of the front, I think, is fine. And,
Well, I mean,
and
in
with
plan
the,
too, though.
not the only an elevation, but plan showing how you're going to keep the children alive.
Yep, we have that as an action
Okay.
item.
I think your question was, do we need you next meeting? I don't think we're going to be needing you till the following meeting.
Yeah.
December 8th.
Okay, December 8th is the plan, but in the trustee meeting, that's not something that we would want to participate in?
Well, I think
You
that
can come, but I don't think
you
you-
should send, I don't know if you, all three of you want to come, but someone should be here because you should be here. Well, bring
I'll
you,
be-
you
I'll
all
be far
three of
away,
you
but
come
Reed,
in.
I would imagine.
I think that this is a pretty big one, and then you know, when we get it, it'll be late when we get to that document review, and we may not finish it, but we may.
Okay.
Review of the tree cut restriction?
Right.
Yeah.
So you're gonna.
Yeah,
you're
buffer
gonna-
zone
restriction.
So you're gonna, are you suggesting that that'll be something that will be discussed next week
Yes.
outside of the public hearing?
No, as part of the public hearing, but just limit that part of the public hearing to discussion of the tree cut. And the discussion with the trustees, you raise an interesting point, whether or not that should be part of our public hearing. I think that it probably should be.
I think probably too.
And so we would go public hearing with the trustees, and then we would wait a while, and at the end of the meeting, we'd have public hearing to review the legal document.
I mean, does it have to be separate things? Can the
Well,
trustees
it
just
sort of
leave?
does, because that is not going to require, we've got, you see, we're going to have a lot of people waiting to do something else, and if the tree cut thing takes a lot of time, they're not going to be happy, because it's going to be, so we're going to put the discussion of the language at the end.
After Highland.
Let's chat on Monday about how to phrase this on our.
All
public-
you want to do is talk to Brian and get it done somewhere else. I think that we should put it right at the end. All right, but we will, yeah, we're going to be continuing this hearing, so who knows?
You're gonna have to craft that motion right now.
Well,
Yes.
well, no, we're going to hear, if we're going to hear
Comments,
from the
right.
people who may want to comment on what they've heard tonight.
Right.
So, thanks for the update.
Yeah, thank you. I think
And,
we made a lot of progress.
And
Yes, thank you.
we will, with any luck, be in good shape at the end of the meeting next time. Who wants to be heard on what they've heard tonight, or if they've got something else they want to be heard on, as long as it's pertaining to this particular application? We've got a hand back there. Please come up and identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Judy Sweeney from 29 Quizabrook Road in Milton. And I have some questions and concerns. I really appreciate all the work that Pulte's done to address the issues and the work that this board has done. And they're really just on the drainage system. I still have a few concerns / questions. So, Tim, could you do me a favor? This drawing, I think it's Exhibit 2, which shows the...
Exhibit 2.
I think it is. It shows the drainage, the two drainage systems.
Could you pass that to Mike? And
Sure.
he can direct me to...
I think this one shows this drainage, and the other one I think is in this area.
So Tim, this looks like it came out of the drainage report.
Yes, it did. Sorry, yes.
So I don't know if you have, it would be the, it looks like it's the watershed report that was in the back of the drainage report, the drawings.
How far back?
Very back.
maybe.
It would be in the,
I think it was more towards the front page, like 31 or something around there.
still in the appendix. It's up, it would be, there we go.
Yeah,
Getting
there's
close.
one of them, yeah. sorry.
Is this the one, or is this?
I think that would work. I think that one would work.
What's it say at the beginning? That's the
It's-
proposed one, right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and this is a big copy. It's in here.
So if you could, can you blow that up just a little bit? So you have I think that's called drainage ditch B, is that the basin B?
This one right here?
Right.
This is the one we've been talking about? Yep, okay.
Right, so you have the overflow drains now coming out towards the left, correct?
Coming in this
Right.
direction right here,
Right, into that, spilling into
into this
the
wetland
wetlands
part, this
in
part of
there.
the wetland, yes.
And then you have also the other one for lots, what is
It's
it?
down here in the bottom of the slope right
Correct.
here, yes.
Yeah, and that drains
into
into
here.
that wetland.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you follow up, the only concern I have at this point is both of those end up in that sort of E-series wetland.
This big wetland
That
right
big
here.
wetland, which goes right down into Preacher.
Follows down like this.
Well, it also go up, if you see along the wall, into that area.
Yeah, this flows towards us, this area here.
Well, not if you're walking it. It may, I know your elevations show that, but if you get down there,
I did go down there.
it's what, a couple of feet difference?
It's very
between-
flat, it is very flat, but the flow path out of this wetland runs right down through the ditch here, down through this swale and out to Unquity Road. It doesn't take a left-hand turn into your property here. If anything, right along the wall here, there might be a small depression, it might
That's
go
right.
right
That's
underneath the
exactly
wall,
right,
but
yeah.
it stops
Because
like,
that wall is really just, a lot of loose rock that is.
Fieldstone, yep.
Fieldstone,
Right.
that's meant to flow through anyway. So that's my only concern is how do we, if we find that there's a flow going into that area, which that is very wet anyway, as you know, that's a depressed area, as you get further into up where the houses are.
so, Lisa and I also discussed your issue, because I told her
Yep.
you had concerns, and I wanted her to focus on this so that you just weren't hearing it from me.
Okay.
So, in the analysis, like I said, this comes down through here like that. And the volume of water that we're talking about that's coming down here, or the rate of water, is almost nothing. So when especially when you consider the vastness of this wetland, so the volume of water, for water to actually go in this direction, it would have to build up in here and kind of
Right.
push itself all the way up to here. So
So perhaps my understanding is incorrect. Go to the bigger basin. Where are those two? No,
Oh, this one here?
The basin itself,
Yeah.
right. So where are the pipes going, coming out of there?
right in this area right here.
Oh, okay,
they're
so
aimed
it
in
was,
here.
I thought they were coming out further up
Originally,
there.
originally we
Right,
had it
right,
here,
right.
and, to appease your concerns, we moved it.
Okay.
Moved it over in this direction.
All
so
right,
it
well,
has
that
to-
should help.
I don't really think you have anything to worry about.
Okay. The only other question I had is on the maintenance of the drainage systems themselves is going to fall to the responsibility of the homeowners association. And I think you have a maintenance schedule, recommended maintenance schedule in there. What's the enforcement to ensure that that actually ends up happening, so that
So-
water is treated and those pipes are maintained?
Yeah, so,
Long-term, there isn't a solution, there isn't a problem down the road.
right, so this is very common in most of the developments nowadays, where, especially when we're filing a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission, we come up with an O&M, an operating and maintenance plan, which is what you're referring to. So these basins get inspected by a qualified person periodically, and in the case of the basin here, I think it's quarterly, and we mow the basin, the sides of the basin, I think once a year is what's expected in the O&M.
And that inspection's done by someone associated with the Conservation Commission?
It's hired, a professional like myself, or someone who's qualified, is hired by the HOA, the Homeowners Association, to do these inspections and then report to them And it also gets copied, I believe, to the Conservation
Okay.
Commission.
So there's someone outside of the
Yes.
homeowners association? Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Who else would like to be heard on this tonight? There'll be an opportunity in the future, but anyone? All right. So now, we're going to continue this till next week. We're going to meet with the trustees and the selectmen also. It may be we have to meet with the selectmen on this as well. So that will be, we'll get that posted, and then we are going to continue the hearing until, what else do we have on, Tim?
We had continued, I'm sorry.
Beechwood and Carrick.
Carrick was continued to the 8th.
Yeah.
The 2 Elliott was continued to 7 PM. We'll need to get through that one relatively quickly. And then we've got 745 is the cluster development at 245 Highland Street. Those are the two.
Okay, so we're going to, the meeting with the selectmen is at 7.
Is at
So
7.
we're going to want to tack this on at the end at 7:45.
We've already got a public hearing continued to 7:45.
Well, at 7:40. We're going to tack this odd meeting with the Board of Trustees / Board of Selectmen regarding Milton Woods. And then I don't see any way we can then start discussing the tree cut restriction until after the other hearings have occurred.
So, I mean, you can continue your own hearing till later on in the evening.
Right, but I think that it wouldn't be fair to the public for us to start discussing a legal document while they're cooling their heels in the back of this rather grim room.
It's a nice enough room.
It's a nice, friendly, warm gray color. All right, so we'll continue it till 7:40, and hopefully after we do our thing with the selectmen and Board of Trustees, we'll say we'll continue this later, but that's what we'll do. We'll continue the whole thing till 7:40 and see what happens. So we have a motion, I think. What?
Yes, for that,
For that continuance?
yes.
That's what you wanted, wasn't it?
I'm making sure you didn't make that other motion.
Oh, the motion to, no.
All right,
No.
so moved.
Okay, and we have a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So continued. Now, there's
New
nothing
business.
else on our agenda,
business.
other than the town planners and assistant town planners reports, which I think we're going to not,
We've got 2 items of new business that you skipped over.
oh.
And he's ready.
The East Milton loading zone status. That's so we do, it's like getting a report from the town planner or assistant town planner.
I'm ready. Traffic Commission would like to try and have no designated loading zone in East Milton Square. This issue came up because in the Novara site plan approval, there is a requirement for a loading zone on Adams Street. The issue is one of, there are a few trucks that do wind up double parking down on Adams Street. Every once in a while, they're double parking on Granite Ave. We've had discussions, the members of the Traffic Commission have had discussions with the Chamber of Commerce, and what we would like to try to do is have no designated loading zone. We didn't have one before we put this site plan approval into motion. If we have to go back, we'll go back, but we would like to, at this time, try no zone.
You want to do a pilot program.
We do. But we're being,
A site plan approval modification for a pilot program.
to remove it for a time period.
Well, not to remove it, but to not enforce it for
A period of time.
a period of time. And then if it either springs back into life or we then,
Then we'll bring it back and we'll put it on Franklin Street like we've been discussing, but
well, I mean, we've got it.
I thought when we did the permit for Novara, one of the distinct things that we were trying to do is make sure that there was no 18-wheel trucks on the side street there,
Church Street.
on Church Street,
Church Street. So if we take away a zoning,
they still won't go
a
to Church
loading
Street.
zone, or if we say there's no loading zone in East Milton, then what stops them from using Church Street as a loading zone?
We won't let them stop on Church Street. Right now, the
That's the whole
majority of trucks go into the parking lot behind Novara. And it's our plan to have as many go into there as we can. If the 18-wheelers need a place to go, we keep telling them, go to Franklin Street. The only one that we really have an issue with is the one for the liquor store, which is Granite Ave. And it's just a case of, the enforcement is extremely difficult in front of Starbucks. It's just a place that, as soon
People
as
like
it
to
gets
park.
cleared out, somebody wants to pull in there. We have a hard time keeping it clear for any trucks. But the members of the Traffic Commission feel that it's we would like to try and have no loading zone. But we're stuck behind the issue that the planning board put it into the site plan approval.
Novara.
I think that we could try a pilot program. And you could come in with a site plan approval modification for a
Pilot program.
4-month pilot program.
But again,
I think the church, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
but again, the whole purpose of it was,
Right.
pardon me, for the Church Street is, if I'm standing in front of Novara, Church Street is the street on the right.
If it,
Yes.
if the
They-
trucks end up there, then
But we-
after 4 months, that's the end of it.
But we listened to people, and they asked us to make sure that that don't happen, and that's why we said they had to have the loading and unloading on Adam Street.
I am concerned too, Mike,
We're just
because
throwing
I
that out the
think
window on
the
the people that
public,
asked us to do that.
the people who came and spoke about their concerns ought to have an opportunity to speak as to whether they think it's a good idea,
Right.
in my view, because that was a provision, as you said, to accommodate the concerns of people who live on Church Street.
I mean, we're here to listen to the public, and the public made a very distinct point to that, and we listened to them, and we try to accommodate them, and now we're just going to say, well, we're just going to ignore it.
Well, the Traffic Commission is supposed to pay attention to the public also.
Maybe they didn't realize that this was the
But they
case.
meet during the day when a lot of people aren't available to meet.
Is this a conversation specific to the Novara special permit? Because if it is, I need to recuse myself.
I'm sorry, I only heard half of what you said.
Is this a conversation specific to the Novara special permit?
It's coming about because of the Navarro special permit.
But the loading zone is supposed to serve the entire square, so
Yes.
the answer is yes and no.
Well, so
It's not a simple yes, it's not a simple no.
I just want to be clear that I was an active participant working on a pro bono basis with the applicant of the special permit for Novara. I have no financial interest in the project now, and I didn't then, but I don't feel comfortable partaking in conversation about a special permit on that project that was issued by this board when I wasn't a part of it. So my feeling about the pilot program in East Milton Square in general sounds like a good idea. I don't want to weigh in at all on the special permit for Novara, so I don't know if I should recuse myself from the conversation. or
Maybe
not.
maybe it is a good idea, then, and if it's a good idea, then I think what Gerald said is a good compromise, then we should get people back involved before we implement it.
And Cheryl, I should note that there's a new policy for the Traffic Commission to meet in the evenings, and this matter was discussed at a 7 PM meeting.
Was it noticed as an issue related to Novara, though?
But,
Because
yeah, but again, yeah, exactly.
Because this isn't.
People came
No.
and sat here because
East
of,
Milton.
people came and sat here because Novara wanted a permit to put a restaurant there. They sat there, they listened to everything. They asked that we make sure that the 18-wheelers don't travel down their side streets. We try to accommodate them. Now now you're asking that they understand that the traffic study committee is doing a traffic study and that they should understand that to be an overturn of what they've received, as a compensation for the Novara
We
permit?
wouldn't be overturning that, because the restriction
Wouldn't mind
against,
mine.
whatever restriction there is in the permit against using Church Street for trucks, and I don't remember what it says, I don't want to remove the requirement. Certainly, one can say no trucks on Church Street as part of the pilot program. But, the nice thing about a pilot program is we've got something in place. We don't have to, going through a long proceeding to revoke or change the site plan approval to have no loading zone, and then finding it doesn't work and having to do another site plan approval to reestablish the loading zone, whereas a time-limited pilot program would show in fairly short order, I would think, whether it's a good idea or not.
I still am concerned. You talked at the chamber. Did you speak to the East Milton Neighborhood Association, anyone?
We should send out notices to all the abutting neighbors then that we're gonna change the zoning requirement that we set up for Novara, which says now there is no specified loading zone in East Milton Square. So that's how these people would know. Just to say that we're doing a traffic study and that they should pick up that means
You think
that what they sat here through.
This is like
on
the
Novara
George Washington
is-
Bridge, as far as you're concerned.
So like the what?
I think you're getting ahead, of, the only trucks that do not go into the back lot of Novara are the 18-wheelers. Some of the 18-wheelers actually can fit into that lot. Many of the drivers do not let themselves get into that lot. So it's the 18-wheelers that have the issue. Now, those 18-wheelers that go and deliver to Novara, there's also 18-wheelers delivering to Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, the Chinese restaurants there, Abbey Park.
But my concern, Bill, it really has to do with process. And I think it's, as much as traffic is a big issue, understandably, in East Milton Square, I think the Neighborhood Association deserves an opportunity to speak to it before it happens. And I feel pretty strongly about that.
I would never deny that, the whole problem with East Milton Square is parking and traffic.
All right.
That's
The
been eternal.
answer is this: if you want to do it, propose a site plan approval amendment and advertise it. And
Right.
we'll spend a couple of hours doing this one.
I don't know if it has to be that. I just
It
would like
certainly
they
does.
spoke to the
If we're going to have a-
chamber. I'd like them to speak to the
Right.
Neighborhood
We're
Association.
going to have a
that's all.
public hearing.
Okay.
And it will take as long as it takes.
Well, do we need to have the holder of the site plan approval apply for?
I believe that the holder of the site plan approval has to apply for it.
And Bill, are the selectmen taking this up on Tuesday? The Traffic Commission's recommendations?
I don't know yet. I have one other item.
So, can I just make one alternate proposal?
Yeah.
What if the Traffic Commission has a hearing on this and specifically talks about this particular permit? In the
we-
scheme of, this is really their plan, right? This isn't our plan.
I agree with you. The issue there is going to be that the site plan approval document says
I
that there will
understand,
be.
but I'm saying the process is broken if we make some decision without consulting the public. However, the public is not going to have the whole plan because we don't have that here. So I wonder, are we the appropriate, but should we let the Traffic Commission host a public hearing that goes on for days?
Yes.
Specific to this special permit and their entire proposal,
approval.
and then later
if this board will accept what the traffic commission comes up
They
with.
can make a recommendation, and then we can have a hearing
And
based on their recommendation.
I believe.
Why are
that-
we doing all the work?
My feeling is that, if we have a loading zone, people park in loading zones all
A
the
lot on our
time.
plate.
Why worry about it?
Well, it's not people parking in loading zones, it's where the trucks are loading and
No, I
unloading.
understand, but the problem of the traffic commission has is that people are parking in the loading zone. And that's an enforcement problem, and it has nothing to do with us.
Again, we keep
So
saying the same
just
thing. We understand
leaving
it
the loading
stinks, but
zone alone is fine with me.
Well, when we had the Novara folks come in about the patio, I believe it was, expansion of the capacity, people came to us and spoke about concerns about dumpsters and about other things. And they said, what's the enforcement? And, how are we going, so we kind of put a time limit on things, right, to be reviewed. So I just feel as if we owe it to the neighbors who are so close to this that that they need to be made aware of this
it's
before it
like, it's like an
happens.
overlay. We said you got to do this, but we're going to come as a traffic commission and say, no, the whole area is going to do this. So
If
forget
I
about
were
that little law you
Novara,
made.
I would not in a million years move to eliminate that loading zone because it's useful for them. Why would they want to eliminate it?
Well, that what Bill's asking for is
Well,
not eliminated, it's just
he's
saying you
not
can
asking,
unload or load
he's not
anywhere.
asking for it on behalf of Novara.
No, and I understand that, but
He's saying that.
the point of what he's asking for is that
he's
there is
saying
no
that
designated
the
loading
police
zone.
don't
Just
want to
whatever you
enforce
want.
the loading zone.
That's not it at all. Police are down there enforcing it, but the people who are getting tickets are,
Are your neighbors and mine?
yes.
So I think my point is, I agree with everything that everybody said. I think the public absolutely should have some potential to weigh in if there was going to be any sort of change on any permit that's been issued, any. But we have a lot on our agenda. This is going to be a hot button issue, as Alex pointed out. If this is a traffic commission priority, then I think they should do the front end work, and then they can come here and propose it, and then we can have a public
It
hearing.
really wasn't ours, it came from the chamber, and the chamber.
But I just don't understand why we would add this to our agenda when we have so many
No,
other
and-
things
and
going
I-
on.
I agree that the traffic in East Milton stinks. I agree exactly what you're saying, but I feel some responsibility to the people that sat here in front of us and said,
All right.
you're
Oh, no,
asking
I
us
do
this.
too.
Let them
I
do
agree with you.
let them do their public hearing
Yes,
first, and then
that's all I'm saying,
if
Mike.
after the public hearing they still want it, they can.
Exactly. That's
they can
exactly my point.
Convince Novara to come in and ask for an amendment,
Or
and
they
we'll
should
do our
come
own
in and
public
convince
hearing.
us to reopen
It's
the
an
conversation.
issue that came from the Chamber of Commerce, so if the chamber, if
If the chamber wants to
Traffic
send
Commission
it,
really
look, if
doesn't wanna
the
take it
chamber
up,
wants to send a letter, that's fine. But
Okay.
we're not going to, you've heard the,
I've
you've
heard your,
what they
yes.
say.
All right, my last item.
That was a long item, by the way. You're
Really,
not,
we're doing good tonight.
you're not entitled to another long item.
No, sure. Woodmere construction sequencing. Woodmere is 865 Brush Hill. It's the old St. Pius site. Thank you, Tim. All right. The special permit says that the construction sequencing will go in counterclockwise. They have permits right now for the buildings on the right. They applied for the foundation permits for the two buildings in the back. What they would like to do is pick up the first two on the left-hand side, so that when you drive by, you don't see this huge empty lot, that you would actually start to see a development start to take place. So they're looking for the first two buildings on the left-hand side, and then
They're
they'll,
looking to not do the affordable units at.
no,
in
they're
the
doing
time.
those right now.
Okay.
But no, Cheryl, they're trying to make it look nice for us. It has nothing to do with anything else.
All right, well, my concern wasn't that they were going
I
to try and
buy that.
delay the affordables.
Those are the
Okay.
two foundation permits that Bo was just
They were
saying, those two
Okay.
buildings
Signed
in the
off
back.
on
Okay,
those.
all right.
I
2-3
wish
weeks
sometimes
ago.
people would just give us their real reasons, other than the fact that they're going to make it look nice for us, and that's the only reason they want to do it differently.
Out of the kindness of their
Out of the
heart.
kindness of their hearts. It has nothing to do with anything
Look,
else, financial
This is part
or
of the special
timing. or-
permit.
It's how you drive by, and when you see it,
This is
It's gonna
part
make it
of
look
the-
nicer.
Where is this requirement? Is it in some attachment to the permit, or is it?
It was one of
is
the
it in
documents
They gave us-
building
they-
construction
right?
ma- It's in
They
the
gave us a s-
construction management plan,
They give us a
isn't it?
sequence of construction,
Yeah.
like a schedule.
It's in,
Yes,
yeah,
they
but
did.
it's in the construction
in the
management
construction,
plan.
yes.
Okay, and so the question is how one amends the construction management plan, and why don't we discuss that next time, on
The
December
time after
8th?
next time.
December 8th.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're not going to do it tonight.
I just told them I would present it,
All right.
so you can think about it. If you don't like it, that's fine.
Right, tell them we're thinking about it.
Tell them to come up with more explanation than.
No, tell them we've put the planning staff on this and we're waiting for a report.
Thank you.
I mean, I think, well, maybe I'll wait for the report to chime in.
All right, so
Spot man.
we'll entertain a motion to adjourn if anyone should care to make that motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.